Bowl Minor #Oxyr Power Cup Tournament's top 16 emerged the 4 finalists. Let's look at the plays that got them there. Mort here has called a triplet of the Norse as his Yaku and calls a clan of the 9 men looking for more value and is immediately rewarded with 4 Dora. Wave calls a Riichi hoping to take advantage of the con, but Mort continues pushing. And it pays off for Mort. Only one turn after getting into Tempa, he sumos his winning towel, and with a whopping Dora 5, he takes a Hanuman for 12,000, completely swinging the game. Here on the second highlight we have another con, but this time it backfires as Elorira gives Act 3 Dora with his con. Act immediately seizes this opportunity by calling Riichi. And even though Elorira calls Riichi to try and punish Act, he manages to avoid dealing in and sumos the 4 pin. With Riichi Tsumo and 4 Dora, he also gets a Hanuman for 12,000 points, giving him a massive lead in East 1. On the final game of the night, almost at the end, Wave starts his handoff by calling a triplet of the Red Dragons. They have more dragons in hand, and soon after, they're able to call the White Dragon as well. At this point in the tournament, players would be happy with a guaranteed Hanuman, but Wave dreams bigger. After pairing up the final dragon, there's only one tile between Wave and Glory. And although Axe dodges it, Elorira discards the green dragon right into Wave's hand! An amazing big 3 dragons for 32,000 points. Now that's something you don't see every day. For our final highlight, we have Oracle calling Riichi, and Nico chasing it with his own. A Pinfu Riichi with 1 Dora. Doku gets into Tempa and decides to call Riichi as well, adding the 3rd Riichi stick to the table. But Nico is very fortunate, dodging these 2 Riichis and sumoing the 3-mon, giving him a Riichi Pinfu Tsumo with 1 Dora, totaling 8,200 with the bonus points. I hope you enjoyed those amazing moments from our top 4 players, and I hope you're excited for the finals, starting right now.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the final day of the Catfood Bowl #Oxyr Power Cup. I'm your MC once again, Tips and Tricks, and we are here to see the final 4 players, Wave, Act, Mort, and Nico, battle it out for that top position. For those of you who don't know me, I stream Mahjong. I stream ReachMahjong in English, and you can see my link there. We are getting ready for the first games to begin, but in the meantime, let me explain a little bit about how we got here. So, yesterday, I hope you guys were here for that, but if you weren't, we had the top 16 for the first 2 games. And after the top 16 games, they took half of their score and brought it to the top 8. We unfortunately had to say goodbye to the lower 8 players in that cutoff. And from there, those 8 players played another 2 games. And from there, we had to cut the lower 4 players to get where we are today, our finals. And now, to help introduce our finalists, let's bring in the first commentators. We have Irie, who you just heard doing our highlight videos, and we have Joe once again. Say hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. Man, it's I forgot about some of those hands. No, there was some. Everything kind of got a little bit eclipsed by that Yakuman at the end of the night, but there was really a lot of excitement even before that.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's definitely always exciting casting these tournaments, and wow, it was such a treat to see a Yakuman like that. I was not expecting it. It came out of nowhere.
Definitely will be hard to top that today, but there's 3 action-filled games ahead of us, so we'll have to just wait and see what the Mahjong gods will bless us with tonight.
Yeah, so we saw some amazing competitive Mahjong yesterday. The players who came out on top were Wave, Act, Mort, and Nico. They all performed amazing. Wave got very lucky with that Yakuman, but of course, just to even get to this point, they had to play a lot of really good Mahjong.
Yeah, of course. And, surviving so many cuts, getting above so many other players, it's definitely something to be commended.
For sure. And it's very interesting too because the rules are slightly different for this tournament. We have a little bit of a difference in the no-10 penalties, the payments that you pay at the end if it's an exhaustive draw. And we also do have the difference that the dealer repeats usually give 2 extra points, but in this tournament they don't give extra points, so that's been very interesting.
It's definitely a fun experience when you're used to playing Mahjong just casually or even somewhat competitively, to get into a tournament environment and think about how you need to adapt your play to the particular rules of that tournament. Because even if these rules about no-10 payments and repeat counters are definitely not incredibly standard when it comes to tournaments. I do think almost all the tournaments that I've played in have had some little quirk, some little rule that makes you think, okay, I need to adjust here.
For sure. And yesterday we saw some amazing play, and of course those scores that players battled so hard for, they were halved, but they did get to keep half of it, of course. And that's why we see the score difference here. So even though we have plus 30 and plus 29 for Act, and plus 20 and plus 14 for Nico, just because they have performed really well. And there is a small difference here to account for their previous scores, of course, that they worked so hard for. But it's definitely still anyone's game, as we've seen. First place and second place do get some hefty bonuses, usually starting at around 25, 30 points. So it's very nice.
Absolutely. It's all to play for, anyone's game, especially if we see some more crazy Dora bombs or Yakuman.
Yeah, we've seen so many triplets and Dora bombs, so... Yeah. Anyways, looks like the matches are getting ready and we're gonna get started. I am so excited.
Let's go!
Alright, so here we go. The finals. We have Nico as our first dealer of the night. We have Wave right next to him, going to be the second dealer. Act going to be the third, and Mort going to be the last dealer. And right off the bat here, I was talking about how we had so many pairs and triplets, and already we see so many of them, and all players' hands really.
Wave, I think, looks like has the most right now. They've got 4 pairs, possible 7 pairs, or possibly they just try to call for Tanyao, or even maybe Tanyao and all triplets might be fun from them, depending on the next few turns.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But one thing we have to note is that Nico, of course, is our first dealer. Does get 50% bonus points when he wins, and of course gets the repeat. But the biggest thing to note here from Nico's hand is that he does have a pair of East, which if he can call, that's already 2 Han for his hand.
He might call it right now, as a matter of fact. Oh. Yeah, there it goes.
Yeah, and we do see it because, honestly, I don't think there's any case there where you want to pass that up. It's so good.
Oh, for sure. I was, just gotta wonder whether Act was ready to throw it out or not, knowing that you might be about to give your dealer to Han immediately on the table.
Right. And now, of course, he is one step closer to getting a finished hand. And same for Wave. He does draw a very useful tile there, the 7 of Bamboo.
Yeah. And here we go again, seeing lots of triplets. I mean, Wave currently has 2 concealed triplets, could easily get a hand with San Anko, 3 concealed triplets, or, you never know, we might see a Yakuman again right here in this very first round. It's definitely not off the table.
For sure. Yeah, we do have that going on for Wave. But Nico is actually getting into Tenpai fairly quick here. Mort actually draws a very useful tile as well. Slowly getting there.
Yeah.
And really it's going to be a matter of if Nico can call another tile, they will very quickly get the sound together.
And it's a 6,000 point hand. It's not a bad win for your first hand.
For sure. I mean, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, for sure. I agree completely. Like, if you're in the first dealer position, this is exactly what you want, right? The triplet of double East, and you have Adora as well. It's very good.
Now, Mort's hand is actually looking really interesting right now. It's a bit of a clunky hand at the moment, even if it is one away from Tenpai with all of those closed weights. Wave has just called Richie, by the way, has not managed to get Yakuman. What I wanted to say about Mort's hand is that it would have been really awesome if he had kept that 1-so that he discarded on the first turn, because then, besides, even though he had this kind of clunky, slowish hand, he would have been able to add a mixed triple sequence and a lot of value.
Yeah, and we have seen mixed triple sequence be a very useful Yaku in this tournament. But Wave here has a very impressive hand, to say the least. So many triplets. And
a very nice weight as well. It's the 3-sided weight for the 2/5 Mon and the 8-pin. Although it is made a little bit less good by the fact that he's using up a lot of his own winning tiles.
Yeah.
But he is also using up a lot of Nico's winning tiles.
Yeah, and now Mort is actually drawing a dangerous tile here, but I think... Let's see. Okay, yeah. We see the one ping being discarded. Of course, Nico is now in Tenpai for that pretty sweet hand as we were talking about. Ooh, and actually, yeah, as Act calls, Nico gets it on, and this is gonna be a nice hand here. 334, 5,800 from the dealership. Very nice to start off the night.
And he, of course, steals that 1,000 points from Wave as well, from that Richie stick. And keeps the dealership.
Yeah, and the greatest thing is you do get the 50% bonus, and you get to keep being the dealer for as many times as you win. So you can very quickly rank up points, and that's exactly what people want. We see here Nico was he did qualify for the finalists, but he did have the lowest amount of points from everyone. But this is already a good start to get some momentum to fix that.
Absolutely, and as we said a couple of times, the points difference going into this game, it's not nothing, but it's not that big either, so it's very surmountable.
Ooh, and wow, Wave getting into Tenpai there for 7 pairs, waiting on the 8 only, of course. And ooh, now Mort has it, so we'll see if that comes out. Yeah,
it's a difficult Richie though. Yes, it's early, and yes, it might scare some people away, but there's definitely no guarantee that 8 is going to come out. And I wonder, if Wave had
held
off calling Richie just for one more turn, if he might have preferred to take that single dragon. Oh, well.
Yeah, but that is a nice hand there. The Richie and 7 pairs. Going to be a very nice hand to win here. Direct hit, 3,200. Can't complain about that.
Can't complain too much, absolutely.
Alright, so now it's actually Wave's dealership. He's the second dealer after Nico because he won. So the game progresses. We're now East 2. And right off the bat we see already a completed mount. Going to definitely help progressing the send.
Mm-hmm. That looks like quite a nice hand. Likely Pinfu going to happen there. I think. Just a couple of tiles away. I think. Maybe.
Yeah, he does
maybe
have a
3.
dedicated pair and everything, so
Mhm.
chances are pretty likely, I think. We'll see if anyone's faster. And we do see here Nico drawing a very useful tile as well, the 8 of bamboo, and same for Wave, drawing a lot of inside tiles, exactly what he wants, trying to possibly get a Tanya Pinfu. Could quickly add lots of points.
Absolutely. Act has a pair of East of the Round Wind and a lot of character tiles. Definitely possible flush that could happen over there. Although they haven't seemed to draw a ton of character tiles. They will need to get some more character tiles if they, or possibly pair up another one on those. I guess ideally the South of Sea Wind.
Yeah, if they got the South, it would be very nice for them. They could use it as a pair maybe, and then try to get the East, I think, would be the dream scenario.
Ideally call both of them and upgrade their hand to a Mangan.
So yeah, it looks from their discard they are drawing the red tiles for the half fletch as you said, and looking like a very likely possibility, but we have to see if no one intercepts with the quicker hand. Mort is getting close here.
Nico just drew a very effective tile there with the Tuman as well, putting him 1 away. Although actually he decides to cut the 7-9 in favor of keeping the 4-6 mon. Maybe he is hoping to upgrade that 4-6 in some way, maybe drawing a 7 or a 3 of mon.
And we'll see here. I don't think this is gonna go well. We actually do see the call here. Does get 1 more Manzui tile in their hand, but it is an open hand now, so it's worth less points. But yeah, I think Nico's hand has a lot of possibility there. Now, especially they just do the 2, so we could definitely see a side weight here as the final shape, possibly.
Yeah, I do think in that position when you draw that 2, you maybe don't want to give up your the possibility of drawing a 5 mon right away. So if you're gonna discard the 7 so, you should probably throw the 9 so instead of the 6 mon there. I think that would give you a little more flexibility.
I do agree with that, but maybe they were trying to misdirect their opponent, or possibly discarding a tile that might be more unsafe later. So
that's a good point actually. Since Nico is in first place right now, they could just be holding onto that 9 so as a safer tile.
Yeah, it looks like they have sniffed out that the East have not shown up yet at all, so maybe a little bit scared. But now that they draw the 2, actually in Tempai, we might see the East discard.
Nope.
But we don't. We're seeing the 8 discard, possibly signaling a fold. I don't know. It depends, because they are in first right now. Definitely something you want to keep. Don't want to risk it.
Yeah, I do think we're going to see them continuing to fold the rest of this game.
Yeah, from what we have seen from Nico, he's a very defensive player. So I do think it's very likely that's what's gonna happen. And Wave actually called the 6 so, and is now in Tempai waiting on the 2 and the 3. You can see those red tiles there.
Yes. It looks like Mort has made it to, is still 2 away, and is like...
Ooh. Yeah, but I thought we're not gonna see those tiles come out, but actually Nico just discards right into Wave's hand for... It's only an all symbols, but he is the dealer, so he has to continue. Possibly working on a dealer rampage here.
We all love those. Man, he's almost got the mixed triple sequence here as well, just right from the get-go.
Yeah, kind of amazing to see such exciting hands already from the get-go, as you said.
That is a very nice starting hand, I gotta say. It's gotta be said.
Mixed triple sequence here, obviously very expensive Yaku, because you can... It's worth already 2 points if you have it close. It does enable you to open your hand as well. He does have 1 Zora, could And the nicest thing about it is that it mixes so well with other Yaku.
Mm-hmm. Very, very true.
Ooh. Mort has a lot of honors in Terminals, but looks like we're just going to see a shift into a normal hand.
Yeah, I think just didn't have quite enough to think about anything too spicy.
Yeah.
And seeing those two whites as well getting thrown out, it's like, well, there's no sense in me hanging on to this one.
Mm-hmm. I do think that was the case as well. And we see here players just slowly getting tiles that help them progress a little bit.
Yeah, and it looks like Nico currently has the fastest hand on the table. He's only one away from Tenpai. Mort and Act's hands definitely both quite slow. Although Act, even though his hand is slow, he has got a lot of bamboo tiles and a lot of good shapes in the bamboo as well. Definitely strong possibility for a flush, maybe even a closed flush. A completely concealed full flush could be very big hand to boost him out of his current last place.
Yeah, we could see that. We'll see if they decide to throw out the fours because they are a pair, so they're very useful in their hand right now. And we're talking about that mixed triple sequence. Wave is actually pretty close to getting to completing that. Only needs the 6 spin, and also they have a possibility of a pure double sequence. One thing to say is Nico is close to Tenpai, as you said, only being 1 away, but if he gets the 2 or the 5 to complete the 3-4, the final shape will not be that great.
Yeah, that's true. A single weight on Sora is very difficult to make happen.
Yeah, because no one is going to discard that. But we do see here Wave, as we said, was really very close to Tenpai and did in fact get it. Sadly, not going to get the mixed triple sequence, but he is waiting on Pinfu and Tanya, and the Richie, of course, with Wandora. That could be a very nice hand.
Let's see. Tanya, Richie, Pinfu, Wandora. That's 7-7. Sorry, as the dealer, it's 11,600 points if you can roam off someone. So he would not be upset at that, I'm sure.
Yeah, and they do have the possibility as well of getting the Tsumo and possibly Uradora. Looks like we're not going to see that, so let's see here. Going to be only 7,800 because of the 20 fu from the Pinfu.
It's amazing how much that hurts when you're up in the 4Han range. How much of a decrease that 20 fu does.
Yeah, the fu really make a difference when, as you said, you get more Han. Those are the multipliers of your hand score. But of course, if you're Wave, you're definitely happy with this outcome. You still got a very nice hand. It was still worth a lot, and now you're in first. So we do see here, once again, we have Mort with a lot of honors. Does have another, does have white dragons again, but now this time they have a pair, so they could possibly see another one and get that triplet. And with how many pins do they have, we could even see a half flush.
That's possible, although I think it would be more likely if he ends up pairing up the east, the west, or the red. And since he's the west seat and it's still east round, any of those, or the green dragon for that matter, would be another Yaku and would definitely be a big step on the way towards the flush.
So we do see the 8 of bamboo being discarded by Mort, and that, to me at least, signifies that they're pretty locked in on the idea of a half flush with the Pinzu.
That could be, although if I were in that position, I would still be looking at my hand with 4 honor tiles without a friend. And, if you have 4 tiles that aren't paired with anything, you're still a little bit away from Tenpai, even if the rest of your hand is mostly pin tiles.
And we have seen so much mental fortitude and discipline from these players. And Wave drew the white dragon, and even though it's very unlikely that they'll ever use it, they decide to keep it. Probably because of defense.
Looks like we have yet another possible full flush in Nico's hand in the north seat. Although it's also definitely a possibility that he will end up just going for an Ipeko, the pure double straight with the 1-2-3.
Yeah, the pure double sequence is very useful because you can keep it closed and, you know, players might not see it coming when you get into Tenpai.
Yeah, Act, in fact, has built one of those for himself, and it's an especially nice one because it contains 2 Dora.
That is true, and they're very close to Tenpai. We could see some very nice shapes here. Could even see a Tanyao, Ipeko, pure double straight with 2 Dora. Could be very, very good for in his position, especially because he's so far behind, needs to get some momentum. And it would be nice to have an advantage going into his dealership.
As a matter of fact, it could even be a 7 pairs. He's only 1 away from that as well. And that would be a little bit easier given that there are 3 4-pins in Wave's hand, 2 1-pins on the table, and 2 1-pins in Nico's hand. So that 2-3 pin weight is actually pretty dead. And actually, the last 4-pin is on the table in Nico's discards as well, so it's completely dead.
Yeah, that is something that we do see from the commentary perspective, but the players themselves, they might see the 2-sided weight, especially with the pair imbued, and they might think, wow, this is the best shape ever. And that's what everyone wants, right?
Yeah,
for the one from the 1 away.
So I guess, so I guess they just have to hope that they pick the right one. And although, speaking of 7 pairs, Nico has also got himself 7 pairs.
Yeah, there are non-Tenpai with 7 pairs waiting on the 7, and that's a tile that we only see 3 of. We see 1 of them in Nico's hand, and 1 in the discard, and 1 in Wave's hand. So it is only 1 left, but it might come, and of course, there's always a possibility of switching. And yeah, we do see that it switches to wait on the red dragon only. And Mort's hand is looking very awkward. If they want to progress, they're most likely going to discard it.
That could be, although at this late stage in the game, it's a little bit hard to know. Oh, wow.
Ooh, and yeah, they decided to progress their hand and delve into Nico's hand here. It's only a 7 pair. 7 pairs, no Riichi, 1,600 points, but Mort's definitely upset at that. They don't want to lose any more points.
The Riichi would have been nice, it would have doubled the hand to 3,200, but it is possible that it would have made someone less likely to deal the red dragon. Although with 1 on the table, it's still not an unreasonable discard.
Yeah, it's a toss-up. I think it depends on the players, depends on what they have in their hands. For example, if we had seen Act draw it, of course, they might have kept it for themselves, but, you know, if you have that much value, sometimes you consider doing things differently.
Here in the South Seat, Mort declines the Tenpai and does not call Riichi, even though he drew a 1-pin to, which gave him Tenpai. It would have been a hand with no Yaku and a single weight on either the 3-pin or the 1-so, but he declined it. Presumably, he's hoping to draw the 2-so or the 9-so to get that full straight and use the 3 pins as his pair.
And something exciting that is happening here, Wave. We have already seen a Yakuman from him yesterday, and now he has so many honor tiles. It's I never count on seeing one, but if anyone's gonna do it.
Yeah, that's possible. Although I do think that given the pair of Easts in Nico's hand, which by the way are also the Dora, and he's got a triplet of the Green Dragon, so I mean that's definitely a bit of a scary prospect as well. But I think Wave perhaps doesn't have a good chance of an all honors or a 4 wins hand, but the 13 Orphans is not impossible yet.
That is true, but now it's gonna be a problem for them because now Mort is in Tenpai waiting on the 2 of bamboo. Wave does have 1 in his hand. And as you said, Nico has so much value in their hands and ability to speed up. might be difficult here for Mort. Definitely don't want to deal into anyone, especially in 4th already.
Interestingly, Wave decides to discard the white dragon instead of keeping it as a pair. I guess just seeing the 2 already on the table, probably trying to avoid dealing in. He maybe had grand aspirations with a pretty exciting hand, but Arichi is a scary thing.
Indeed, it's indeed very scary, and oh, I'm excited to see what happens here in this hand. We have so much value in everyone's hands.
Wave also is in first place and definitely doesn't want to risk losing that on some lofty dream of a Yakuman that is probably not going to come. So I think that's a very reasonable thing to do, to just take the opportunity, throw all your honors as safe tiles. Assuming
is
that
true.
is what he's doing. But I think that is.
Yeah, I do think so too, because if they had a chance to go for it, it would have been right there, and I don't think he's going for any more for sure after seeing the Richi, because he is in Tenpai. No, sorry, not in Tenpai. He is in first, and he definitely wants to keep that position, because he was already in first overall score, as we see here on the left, plus 31. And if you can get a first place here in the first game of the night, that's definitely a good position for him.
Absolutely. All he would have to do is defend.
Yeah, and one of the interesting things about Mahjong is that sometimes you win by just folding your hand and playing defensive. Ooh. But finally, after many turns, Mort sumos the Tuso for a pure straight.
His patience paid off.
Paid off with 7,900 points. Very good payoff there. Now Act, looking very dire, has lost their first dealership, had to pay 50% of that hand, and now they're going to need a lot of hands to get the momentum back. Of course, they were plus 28 from yesterday, but it's still a lot of work to do.
They're currently sitting at something like minus 20 or minus 30. So, that advantage from the points going in, I mean, that wipes that out if he does indeed sustain the 4th place here.
So this is why we were talking about that. Even though the players do have an advantage, we could see everything change in a single game. So it is a slight advantage, but anything can happen in these games. As we saw yesterday, someone got a Yakuman and completely changed everything. It was Wave, the big 3 dragons.
That's why we play, isn't it? Because of that.
For those exciting moments.
Oh yeah, the volatility, the unpredictability, that's what makes it fun.
A lot of people play for those moments, but I do think these quiet moments too, where you don't call Ichi, and because of positional play or very strategic wins, you end up in first. And we're going to see, we have seen so much discipline, especially from Nico, has such a defensive playstyle. And
yeah. Nico and Wave as well have both made some very smart folds when they needed to so far.
I remember yesterday we had a hand that was full flush, actually in Tenpai, I think, and they drew a dangerous tile that was off their suit, and they just decided to fold, and it was the right call too, because they would have dealt in.
So, Nico manages to get to Tenpai at last. He's made a pinfu, and has the possibility to win on the Dora. So he definitely has not given up his aspirations of taking first place back from Wave.
And I do think that's a smart choice. Nico, we have seen him play quietly, not calling Richi, and we have also seen times where he called Richi, and it's very interesting to see him play. He has a very different playstyle from the others.
Let's see, Mort has a nice Tanyo happening here. Possibility for the double straight, but I think Mort is definitely has a strong chance of folding after seeing 2 Richis on the table. So
Yeah, and yeah, as you said, we have 2 players with Ricci, and actually, because of the Ricci wave is going to deal into Nico, so
yeah,
we do see here 1 Uda turns the hand into 3900, a very nice upgrade there, and gets a hit on the first place and actually overtakes him.
yeah. That's what you do when you see 2 Richis on the table. Unless you're, really deep in last place, you often just want to kind of bow out, take DLC safe tiles, and let them knock each other out.
Yeah, for sure. But perhaps in the tournament setting, going for more points was what drove Wave to that decision.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for now, we see Nico here, going to be the first dealer again for the South round. Like we said, it is in first place, and with the dealership has another opportunity to make some big hands, get an even bigger of an advantage. Wave does have a triplet of the greens already in his hand, and actually, so many bamboo tiles, we might see that becoming a half flush.
Yeah, that's a really exciting hand. It might even be half flush and all triplets, or half flush and 7 pairs possibility as well.
It is true. And
Depending on how
for the
much
other
value
players,
they want to go for.
Mort does have 2 Dora. We might see here shifting the hand possibly to accommodate for that, possibly going for a Tanya. And
Yeah.
for Act, we see a pair of the Nords, although they're not useful for the Yaku, they are still useful as a pair. And slowly trying to make the hand into something great.
Mm-hmm. Looks like Act has 4 pairs at the moment and not a lot of great shape. So I think if Act does make it a Tenpai, it seems somewhat likely that it'll be a 7 pairs kind of hand.
Yeah, it actually feels almost all the players have 4 pairs in their hands. I think Mort is the only one with 3, and one of them is Dora, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll have to see what happens. He may deal the Dora right now, as a matter of fact, because he's finished that 3-4-5 shape. And it's just, it's a useless. You gotta discard the unnecessary tiles sometimes, even if that tile is a Dora.
Yeah, but it's a very important discard, even though it is Dora, because now they're so close to a Pinfu. And with the Dora and Ricci, we could see exactly the hand that he needs.
Absolutely. I think he is just trying to be as efficient as possible, trying to get to Tenpai, call Ricci, and keep himself reasonably well positioned.
Yeah, but Wave actually going to get into Tenpai here. Possibility of 3 concealed triplets could be a nice boost to the score for 2 Han, only if they self-draw.
And that there's only one of their winning tiles left in the wall, and it is a West, so there's not a great chance of that happening. But on the other hand, if someone else draws the West, there's definitely a decent chance that they'll deal in with it.
Yeah, and having a Ricci like that, we have seen before people getting the 3 Uradora that sometimes you see when people have a lot of triplets, and it can always happen.
Yeah. Looks like Mort has decided to fold. Oh! Can never be sure what's unlikely and what's not.
Yeah, so we were talking about the possibility of the 3 concealed triplets, and that's exactly what you saw. Even though there was only 1 tile left, we do see it, and with 1 Uradora, that's enough for a Hanuman.
Oh boy.
Yeah, 12,000 points. Wave was already in a good spot, and now Nico gets hit by 50% of that hand, paying 6,000. And Wave's looking very happy right now. Got a hit on Nico, pretty much. A massive point swing.
Yeah, unless someone else manages to get another big explosive hand like that, it's looking like it might be a fight for 2nd place, given how far away 1st and 4th are.
That is definitely true. Although a direct hit on Wave would put him right back from Nico's position. And something that we have to explain here is that in this tournament we don't have the red Doras, and without those it's a lot harder to get those high value hands that we just saw, the Hanuman.
It can be a lot harder, yeah. Man,
Because
it would
for-
be really exciting if the same thing happens now as has happened a few times already in this tournament, where you see a situation like this with two players around 25,000, one player with more and one player with less. And the player in fourth hits the player in first, and all of a sudden everything's on level playing field again.
Yeah, that is
So-
something that could happen, and especially if things go that way, it would be very interesting because then it would be Axe dealership. But for that
That
to
is
happen,
a
we
good
would need to
point.
see a very big hand.
Mhm. It's not out of the question, and it has happened a few times already in this just in the last couple of days, but certainly not a given as of now.
So for possibilities here, we do have Wave with a nice hand, has 2 Dora. For opening the hand, it would need a lot of work. We need to discard the 9s and the 1, but I mean, we could always see it, right?
It's a possibility, although Mort has just made it to Tenpai, waiting on the 3 and the 6 pin, and has decided to stay quiet. So I think it's definitely a decent chance that... Oh, never mind on that staying quiet front, I suppose.
So I guess players who have been watching carefully will notice that Mort's Ricci call did not come from his hand. It was actually from the tile he drew, so people will know that even though it looks like he called Ricci on the south, it was actually the 5 discard that actually got him there.
It's definitely a technique used by more experienced players to keep track of which tiles a player discards from their hand versus what they call tsumogiri, where you just discard the tile you just drew. And really good players can remember for each player on the table, they'll remember which tiles that they discarded from their hand and otherwise, and use that to read into what's in their hand.
And of course that is a very advanced technique, but these players are so good, they've been playing for so long. They definitely do have the expertise and the experience to make use of those techniques. As you can see, you can even see it happening right now. Someone may discard the tiles either from their hand or from the tile they just drew, and they'll be marked darker if they are discarded from draw. That's definitely something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Mort actually switches here into the 3-6.
It's looking like it is looking like most of the other players at the table are folding, though, discarding mostly safe tiles. Even Wave has been dancing around it a little bit, discarding safe tiles but maintaining good shapes in their hand. And with 3 Dora, that's definitely not a bad move to make. They could draw the 6 pin, and not only would they not deal in with it, they will, well, ignore me then.
Ooh, so
Ooh.
we do see here Axe getting into Tenpai, waiting on the 7 and the 4. Possibility of a pure double sequence, and for Waves here, is carefully considering if he wants to call the 8 and discard a 7, now waiting on... it looks like a 1-4-7, but it's actually only the 4 and the 7, because of course the 1 is not... It's not enough.
And he has actually free 10 because he's discarded the 1 mons. So but it's
like-
good enough for Tenpai, so that's all you need.
Yeah, so we're going to see here the diminished Tenpai payments, only 1,500 from Nico, going to be spread evenly across the 3 players. And yeah, they had a lot of value, but unfortunately for Wave, did not draw the tile he needed on the last one. Only had the last draw there to make it happen. They do get the benefit of getting the Tenpai payments at the end, which is very useful.
They've got a really exciting hand now. It could be really fast, pretty expensive, or both.
I think Wave definitely likes the sound of that.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it could be the red dragon being called, we could see some calls for the half flush. I think that's what you were talking about.
Mm-hmm. It all depends on whether they see that 1,000-point stick on the table and think, man, I just really want to steal those points from Mort. Or whether he's thinking, man, I've got this lead, I might as well extend it as much as I can.
I think that's definitely something that people may think about. Wave already in first overall score, but could definitely make use of more points, right?
Yeah.
Can never go wrong with that.
And if you're delivered the half flush on a silver platter like this, then I think even though you're first place by quite a lot, you don't know what's going to happen in the next 2 games, so you might as well take these extra points.
Right, and more actually going to call Richie on the Sunzo, waiting on the 4-man only looks like, and
Yeah.
Wave actually getting into Tempa here, waiting on the 9 and the red for the close half flush. Possibility of getting the red as well for even more points.
Yeah, and not only that, but he could discard a safe tile to call Richie and really put a ton of pressure on Act and Nico, and probably make Mort quake a little bit, even though there's nothing that he can do at this point.
Yeah, definitely a scary situation for these players, but they have been under a lot of duress here in these past matches. I mean, everyone's playing so well. You really got to be so skilled to not deal in and try to make hands the best as you can.
Oh,
Ooh, so Act actually got into Tenpai there and did declare Richie, but dealt into Mort's hand.
yeah.
So luckily for Mort, going to take those Richie sticks and actually deny Wave's hand completely, which is, he doesn't know yet, but that hand was very important.
Mm-hmm. Although, I mean, Wave lost that 1,000 points from the Richie stick, but he's still in first place. He's still in first place by quite a fair bit. He's probably not too upset about missing out on that hand.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely the most unfortunate situation right now is Act did declare Richie and unfortunately dealt in, and now is very precarious situation. Has to do a lot of work here. They do have more games to play, but of course you want to do as much as you can in these first games.
Yeah. I mean, he got the sort of consolation prize, I guess, of not having to give up his Richie stick since the Richie was since he dealt in before the Richie was completed. But and I guess he's also pretty relieved that Mort's hand was not that large. But it still doesn't feel good to deal in when you're already in 4th place.
That is true, and we are going to see one of these situations that sometimes happens when we have the standoff with 2 players holding the pair of dragons, and they're both waiting for it. But if they both carry it until the end of the game, none of them are gonna have it.
Mm-hmm. See, Wave has filled their hand with a lot of pairs. They've got 5 of them. They do have the possibility, though, to call the green dragon for Tenpai. So in that sense, they are 1 away, but they are also 1 away for 7 pairs if they manage to draw a 4-so or a 5-so.
Yeah, that is true, and I don't know if we would see that happen here, where they call the green dragon, because the loss in value would be massive.
It would, but if you're in first place, you're not as concerned about getting as much value as you possibly can.
That is true. We might see that happen for that reason.
Although now they've discarded the 4-so in favor of keeping the Dora, so it could be that they are trying to keep a tile around that and get some more value, or it could just be that they are like, well, I'm just going to not throw the Dora regardless. I'm just going to hang on to it forever.
Yeah, with the possibility of someone calling you definitely don't want to deal that to anyone. You never know when someone is going to reveal 3 of them, and just have a wonderful day with that.
Yeah. Interestingly, Act chooses to throw away the 2-so instead of swapping. Perhaps they're hoping for the 3-4-5 in each suit, the mixed triple sequence. But they did have essentially 3 two-sided waves to choose from if they kept that 2, the 4-5 in each suit. So they could have, in fact, thrown the red dragons there, used the 7 mon as their pair, and then just move towards a Pinfu instead of hanging on to the red dragons.
But maybe it's going through their head that they also have to be careful about dealing the red dragon. Mort here going to get into Tenpai, actually call Richie, discarding the green dragon, and waiting on the 2 and the 5.
2, 5, and 8. So
Oh yeah, 2, 5, and 8
weight,
actually, yes.
which is in general a really nice weight, but there are already a lot of tiles from that weight gone. Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All of them, in fact. All of the tiles. There are no tiles left in the wall.
Yeah, there are no tiles left on the wall, but we do have a lot of them in people's hands, and we might see them come off.
It's possible. Although they are fairly integrated in Act's hand and in Nico's hand, and I can't imagine Wave is going to be dealing a lot of dangerous tiles, period.
Yeah, that is true, because the tiles are stuck in their hand, stuck in his hand, as possibly the 7 pairs. Or maybe they're just going to fold, discarding these green dragons. So, yeah, I think it might be too unlikely. Usually the player we see deal in these situations is the player who's most pressured to go for points, as is Act. But of course, they don't even have that tile to deal in the first place. They do have the 5, but yeah, they're not discarding that into Arichi.
Yeah, it's pretty unlikely. I think, unfortunately for Act, it's more than likely that he'll just end up not being Tenpai, and yeah, his dealer
indeed, that's going to be the case. And we do see here that the Tenpai payments again going to Mort, 1,500 points, and Mort is going to be the last dealer. And sadly, Act did not manage to get a dealer repeat or even Tenpai to stay as a dealer.
So with that Tenpai payment, even though the difference between second and third was so small, that Mort is now in second place, and so I assume that he really wants to leverage that this chance to hopefully make up a few points. I don't know if he has any aspirations of making it all the way to first place. That's 15,000 points. Even it would take a dealer Haneman to make up that difference in one shot.
Yeah, that is true. In one shot, that might be difficult. So we'll see Mort here, possibly going to get another repeat if they win this end.
It will be, we can wait and see if he tries to go for a flush or just goes for it as quick as a hand as he can manage.
I think at this point we will see as quick a hand as he can manage, because I think they're just going to go for the repeat. Problem is, it does give another chance to other people, so it'll be interesting to see what happens.
It's always hard to say. But that's the kind of judgment calls that you have to make when you make it to the finals of a tournament like this.
It is true, and Wave again, so many pairs. 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs in his hand. Could see something happening in that regard, but right now, not necessarily. In any situation, they do draw another pair. It does have 5 now, so only 2 away. And
yeah, 1 away from Tenpai, 2 away from winning. Yeah,
2 away from the 7 pairs. And
that's the funny thing about 7 pairs, is that sometimes you just see 7 pairs come together when you're trying to discard or hoard safe tiles.
Yeah, that is something funny that happens sometimes. Yeah, 7 pairs is almost like the savior of bad hands. When you don't have something going on, sometimes you just pair up everything and you kind of just get there.
Nico, meanwhile, has called the Sanzo. Presumably he's a fellow devout. And he is looking like he's going just to try to end the game with a Tanyao to steal that Richie stick on the table and get himself back up to second place to snag that placement bonus.
Yeah, the even a small hand with 1 Han only would be enough, and they are in Tenpai, as you said. waiting on the 7-mon. It's a bit of an awkward way, waiting on the middle tile like that, but you know, we could see it.
Yeah.
And Mort actually calls the green dragon there. It does have 2 Han there with the East triplet and the green triplet, and now a Tempai waiting for 5 and 8.
Mm-hmm. And
Just
Nico
a
has
matter of-
swapped up his weight to be waiting on the 5-mon only instead of the 7-mon only, and it.
Ooh!
Oh no! Oh, that
Yeah.
was expertly done.
Yeah. And yeah, with that direct hit, and with the bonus Ricci stick, it's going to be exactly what he needs to get into 2nd place. Definitely a good situation for him.
Yeah, he's. I'm sure he's just absolutely relieved to have made that swap and changed his weight.
Indeed. So we will see here Wave getting plus 30. Was already in 1st place beforehand and definitely happy with the 1st place again. We see Nico here plus 6. Mort taking 3rd. Only minus 5. So still in a good situation. Act though, they were doing very well, but with minus 31, they're actually going to be in the negatives, and we'll see what happens in the next few games.
Mm-hmm. It'll be very interesting to see what kind of positional play that brings out of him. With now, it's going to be more than a 60-point differential to make up if he wants to take 1st.
So yeah, I think we'll be seeing here the score grid that we have so far. We see our 4 players. Wave with an absolutely amazing lead. Plus 62 right now. Nico has 2 positive scores, plus 14 and plus 6, doing very well with plus 20. We could see anything happen here. Mort is also doing pretty great actually. They did have a very nice score coming in here. They only took a hit of minus 5, so they're still plus 15.6. And Act did not have that much luck in that game. They came in plus 29, actually the 2nd most points, but with that 4th place, minus 31, going to be a minus 1.8.
It's definitely a bit of a sticky situation to be in, but you know, if Wave takes a big loss in the game, then everything can go back to relatively even like that. So definitely cannot be writing anyone out of the game just yet.
For sure, and of course we do have 2 more games, and the players are all playing each other, so we could always see some, some hands that might be different. For example, going for inside weights to prioritize runs, for example, is something that we have seen before in tournaments.
That's a very good point.
But now we are going to give it back to Tips and Tricks, our MC, who will be explaining some stuff for us.
Thank you. So that was a pretty exciting first game. Definitely, Wave was continuing his solid performance. In fact, Wave was actually our last Catfood Bowl champion, but he was on the other side of the points situation going into the final game. Wave actually made a miraculous comeback in the finals, reaching 1st place. But this time, Wave is on top, and he's got to defend from the other 3 players. So normally, you'd say to yourself, I want the 40-point lead. But considering Wave's history, I wonder if he wouldn't be rather playing from behind. Just a reminder here, we have some amazing prizes for not only our top 4 players, but also 5th and 6th as well, who were unfortunately already eliminated. They were on standby just in case something crazy happened. But in 1st place, we have 10 summon scrolls, 500,000 coppers, some real-life merchandise, the limited portrait frame, which I believe Wave could be showing off right now, but I suppose he's being humble and hiding it, as well as a certificate and trophy and a priority pass to any other advanced tournaments that Yostar will be holding in the future. You can see 2nd place with 5 summon scrolls, 200,000 coppers, and another piece of merch. 3rd place, 3 summon scrolls, 150,000 coppers, optional merch again. 4th place, 2 summon scrolls, 100,000 coppers with a nice swag. 5th place, 1 summon scroll, 50,000 with some merch as well. And 6th place, the same as 5th. Whew. And I'd like to remind you all that our prizes are brought to you by Yostar, the publishers of this beautiful game we're playing here, Mahjong Soul. All right, so the next game will be starting after a little bit of a break. We want to, especially for finals, we want to give our players the time to relax, but also to contemplate their situation and get a strategy going into the next game. We're also going to give some time for our commentators to swap out, as well as we will be having different commentators for every game tonight. So in the meantime, we have a video for you that may just help you when you're trying to perform the positional play that you just saw Nico do to get that 2nd place. Let's take a look.
From ReachMahjong of New York. One of the great things about Mahjong Soul is how it counts your score for you. However, you might want to know in advance what your hand is worth to see if it's enough for you to secure 1st place, or get out of last place, or so you can pick just the right emote to go along with winning. There are 2 parts to your hand, Han and Fu. Han comes from Yaku and Dora, but the part of your score that the score screen doesn't count up for you is the Fu, or mini points, and that's what we're going to go over here. So, first things first. 7 pairs hands are worth 25 Fu. No need to do any other calculations or rounding or anything. For everything else, you start at 20 points. And then there's 4 parts for you to look at. What your sets are, what your pair is, what you're waiting on, and special stuff. First, your sets. Sequences, like a 1, 2, 3 or a 5, 6, 7, are worth 0, so just skip them. Sets are worth 2 Fu. Double that if they're closed, that is, if you didn't need anyone else's tiles to finish them. Double it if it uses a 1 or a 9 or a dragon or a wind. And lastly, if it's a con, double it twice, which is quadruple it. So, a pawn of 6 so is 2. A hidden set of easts is 8, which is 2 times 2 because it's closed, times 2 for its being east. And this closed con of 9 pin is worth a whopping 32. 2 times 2 for closed, times 2 for being a 9, and times 4 for being a con. 2 times 2 times 2 times 4 is 32. Second, your pair. Every Han your pair would be worth if you had a set of it makes it worth 2 Fu. So a pair of something like 5 pin is worth 0, but a pair of green dragons is worth 2. If it's your wind or the table wind, it's also worth 2. And if it's both, like a double east, when it's east wind and your dealer, so you're east again, it's worth 4 Fu. Next, it's your weight. After you take out your completed sets, if you're waiting to complete your pair or have an edge or inner weight, it's worth 2 points. Otherwise, it's not worth anything. So this 9-8 waiting on a 7, this 5-7 waiting on a 6, this lone 4 pin, all 2 points. So this 3-4 here isn't worth anything since it's waiting on a 2 or a 5, and neither is this double pair weight on 7 pin or east. This can be tricky. Like this hand at the bottom here is technically waiting to finish its pair. It's waiting for the 2 or the 5, so it gets 2 points. If you take the completed sets away, there's only the single tile left. You can just get that single tile multiple ways. The easy way to catch this is, if you're waiting on multiple tiles, to say to yourself, all right, what part of the hand am I finishing? And if it's to match a single tile to make your pair, that's 2 points. You have what's called the Pinfu Yaku. Pinfu means no Fu, which is where it comes from. Now for special stuffs. If you haven't cheated, pwned, or conned off another player, your hand is closed, and if you roll with a closed hand, you get plus 10. If you sumo and you don't have Pinfu, you get plus 2. If your hand is open, which means you've cheated, pwned, or conned off somebody else, and it's worth less than 30, it's just straight up worth 30. Okay, take the number you have and round it up to the nearest 10. 24 becomes 30, 32 becomes 40, 40 stays 40. Then you can use this and your Han count to figure out your score. If you have a Hanfu points sheet, you can look it up there. You can get a good one via Google, or Mahjong New York, or reaching out, or any ReachMahjong info site. Or you can math it out yourself. That's a little harder, and we'll get to that later. I hope this helped a little. Thanks for watching. Now let's get back to the action.
All right, thank you, Luke, for that explanation on counting foo. So that's right, next time you need to calculate your score to make sure you have just enough to take second like Nico. Hopefully you have that advice in mind. So here we are again. We see Nico, that second place actually got him plus 6.2. Whereas Mort ended up with minus 5.2, and those positions could really have switched had Nico not known exactly how many points it was worth. Just a little scoring clarification here for everyone who is just joining us. The way our competitors got their top 8 score in total was at every cutoff point after the top 16, their cumulative scores were halved. So, what that means is that after the top 16, whatever scores each of our competitors had were halved. That's a little bit of a tongue twister there. And then they played their 2 top 8 games, and then the scores they had there were halved once again, going into the finals. So that is how our competitors came in with their preliminary scores. You can see here that what that amounts to in the end is that 50% of each of their top 8 games, because they were only halved once, plus 25% of their top 16 games, because those games were halved once before top 8 and then halved again before top 4. So that explains these top 8 scores that you see on this page, and that is why our competitors came in with pre-existing scores. And to talk a little bit more about their scores, we have our next commentators. We've got Crow once again, and his partner Pio. Crow and Pio, what's happening?
Hey, Tip, thanks for the wonderful introduction there. So as Tips was saying, if you're just joining in, we are in the middle of the Catfood Bowl finals right now, the Oxier Power Cup. So Pio, how are you feeling about this tournament so far?
It's pretty good. We've already seen some placement changes, and it's only been the first game. That's just to show, this tournament is still anyone's game to win.
Absolutely. So with that note, if you're just joining in, let's take another quick look at those scores there and kind of talk through it and see what positions these players are in. So as we mentioned, going over the stream a couple times, Wave is currently in a pretty commanding first place. He's up by about 42,000 points over Nico, who's holding up second. From there, it's a lot closer. We got Mort just about 5,000 points behind that, and then Act has a little bit of ground to make up, but still definitely achievable. So, Pio, if you're looking at these scores right now, how do you think the next game's going to shake out? What sort of play styles do you think we'll see enacted?
Well, I imagine Wave is going to play a little bit safer. He does have a big enough of a buffer, doesn't have to take as many risks in game 2. Maybe decides to not push a hand that he would otherwise normally push when he, doesn't really need it. Like, he can take like a small 3rd place, or like even like a small 2nd place, and go into game 3 with that knowledge in mind. That being said, Act does not have that luxury. Act, there's about like a 60-point gap between him and Wave. That has to be made up somewhere. And in an ideal scenario where Act is 1st and Wave is 4th, with the Uma, that's only a 30-point swing. So he's gonna have to put in some work.
Absolutely, and making up those points can be kind of difficult in tournament formats like this. There's a few things that are pretty common in different tournament formats, and a few that are pretty unique to the Catfood Bowl. So in this tournament right here, there is no honba. So that is when the dealer has a repeat or no one wins the hand. Usually there's a counter added that makes the next hand worth 300 points extra. And then that is cumulative. So it's 300, then 600, then 900 until someone other than the dealer wins. So that stacking bonus isn't there right now. So even if Act goes on a tear on the dealer, it's a little bit harder to go all the way up.
Definitely. And you might think that 300 points is not, not a whole lot, and it's not, but these 300 points, they add up. They add up over time, and there's a lot of like extra calculations that you can do, and maybe an 8,000 point hand that was not enough for you to be able to win, overtake placement. Maybe 8,300 points off someone else is suddenly enough, and that's something that they're not going to have in this tournament.
Absolutely, but the one thing that has an even bigger effect on scores is the lack of Akadora. That is the red fives that are typically in the game. So typically on the ladder, we got the 3 of them in there, 1 in each suit. But in these games, we don't have any of those. So how does that usually affect hand building, Peel?
Well, they definitely have to find value somewhere else. Like maybe you can't just go for an open Tanya, open simple hand with the 3 red Dora. You can't really do that, and that's just like 7,700 points for all simples, 3 red Dora. Can't do that here. They have to work with the Dora, the Dora that they're given, and maybe they have to craft their hands a little bit, make the hand a little slower. Maybe stay concealed and declare Ricci for some extra value.
Absolutely, but with that said, we are just about to get started in our game, and we'll get to see game 2 out of 3 of the night between Wave, Nico, Mort, and Act.
Ooh, can't wait. Let's get in. Let's get right in. All right. This is a very fast hand on Wave's part. Wave has been very fortunate, it seems, with his starting hands. He's pretty close. He does have 2 dragons that he needs to get rid of or pair up, but overall looking pretty good.
Oh, absolutely. And if this build's just right, he actually has the potential to go for an outside hand to some kind as well. We can see that all the tiles in his hand are usable with terminals or honors.
Oh yeah, that'd be pretty terrifying. He does get a little punished here. Discards a 3-mon, and then he immediately draws a 4-mon. Decides to keep it around because it is a middle tile. Maybe he draws a 3-mon again. Maybe he ends up on like a inside weight on the 5-mon. Okay, he does. Wonderful. But he chooses to not even go for it. Oh no, he chooses to cut the 4-mon, keep the 6-mon now. We'll see how that pans out.
Yeah, definitely looking like he wants to start out with that strong value of that outside hand, and still once again Punish just keeps drawing these low mon tiles. Looking at everyone else's hand, it looks like Act has a somewhat quick hand with no real value going on. It will be able to integrate 1 Dora if he ends up drawing it. Across the board with Mort, it looks a lot faster. It looks like it could be a quick pin Fudora reach hand if the right tiles are drawn there. And Nico on the left over here, pretty good shapes overall. Still needs a little bit of help, but has the potential to draw that mixed triple sequence with a 6, 7, 8.
Oh yeah, and Mort's hand's looking pretty valuable over there. Has that mixed sequences, can even be Pinfu with a Dora, so that's like already like 8,000 points. Pretty solid over there. Act is does draw a good tile with the 5-mon, is able to cut the 8-mon to get the 5-6 shape as opposed to the 6-8 shape. So it's good all around.
Yeah, it's actually kind of crazy how good Mort's hand is right now, because this is what we call a headless shape. That is, there's no pair in that hand. You still need to make the head, quote unquote, of the hand. So with that said, he can draw just about any of his isolated tiles and make that pair. So there's really a lot of different tiles that help him along the tempi here.
And he does choose to be a little bit more greedy with his hand, not keeping that 6-pin. Maybe if he kept that 6-pin around, he would be able to wait on the 6-9 pin, but he might lose his mixed sequences. It does look like he might be trying to go for the North Wind, pair, waiting on the North by itself, which would be interesting to see. But he's also keeping around the 1 pins, maybe speculating a little. But he does get the tempi.
Yep, it gets into tempi and declares reach on the 1 pin and immediately gets it. So this is an absolutely huge hand. It's reach Ipatsu with a mixed triple sequence and 1 Dora as well. Unfortunately misses the Uradora, so it doesn't quite convert into a Hanemon, but I'm sure Mort will be happy with leading off this game with a Mongun.
Oh yeah, he needs all the points he can get. He'll take them all. It's a very good, strong, commanding lead by Mort in East 1. And now we go to Act in his starting hand, which also looks pretty good. These hands are, looking to be very fast.
I'll be honest, I thought you were going to make an Act 2 pun for just a second.
Oh,
but
no,
you
no.
fell off, so I got the chance to instead.
Oh, that comes
So
later.
we see these green dragons right here, and definitely leads to a potentially very fast hand. One Dora that's pretty easy to integrate, and still an outside chance of that mixed triple sequence with the 3-4-5. Definitely something to watch out for.
Oh yeah, and if you look over across the table, Nico's hand, not very stellar, not a whole lot going on. Does draw a triple of the 1 pins, but has a lot of clunky shapes. His hand is going to be pretty rough, but it looks like he might be pivoting into a half flush hand, which I do approve of because his hand is so slow.
Absolutely. That's one thing that I hear a lot with these, formats with no red 5s. You can slow down hands a little bit, so anytime you're dealt a hand like this, it's actually pretty common to go ahead and force a half flush, and it looks like that might be what Nico is looking for right now. That said, if he finds faster options, he's probably going to hold on to that pair of 1 so and just try to make a quicker hand instead.
Oh yeah, and it looks like Mort's kind of speeding along, so Nico does have to keep in mind. Probably going to have to keep up in tempo with Mort, who's making, a really early terminal call, which is a little strange to see. If if you're other people at the table, you're like, oh, what does he have? Is he going for a half flush? Maybe not. Probably waiting on like some sort of honor or dragon of some value.
Yeah, pretty likely, but people do need to look out for half flushes as well. We can see that in this case, Mort has a 6 mon already in his discard, so that's pretty unlikely, but still something these players are going to be considering.
Oh yeah, and Wave over there looks like he is ready for a Chitoy 7 pairs hand. Does decide to keep concealed, probably looking around, speculating, trying to find a better weight instead of that middle 4-mon tile.
Yep, and this goes right back to what you were talking about with the positional play of these players, right? He knows that he's in first overall right now. He's got a pretty good margin, so he doesn't want to do anything really risky, like waiting on just a pair of a middle tile like this. So definitely at the very least going to wait for some kind of better tile to go for.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's if he. Oh, sorry about that. I guess I cut out a little bit. Yeah, like I said, he can just take 1,600 points and he'll be fine. But I imagine he's gonna wait on this red dragon.
Yep, and the red dragon seems like a pretty good one. Still going to stay nice and silent with that, though, and I really do like that. He doesn't see any of the Dora until just now, and honestly, the dealer discarding a Dora isn't really what you want to see either. Usually that's a pretty big warning sign.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure he's thinking about trying to bail out his hand, unless he draws the last red dragon himself. I don't really imagine he will, but yeah, I can see Wave just fully folding his hand from here.
Well, it's possible, but at the same time, we do see the pawn of Dora over from Mort across the board. And, just in the position that he's in, he doesn't really want Mort to extend his lead too much. That's the sort of thing that can make it very difficult to come back from later.
This is true. We'll see what Mort does. Doesn't draw anything too helpful. He does need to call his... Oh, actually, no, he doesn't. He can get all triples hand if he gets lucky. But he might also get his easts. Oh, there's a disconnect. That's very unfortunate for Act right now. I think there's a pause. I'm not quite sure, but okay, there is a pause. Okay, well now we can look at everyone's hands and talk about them.
Yeah, but it should just be a short pause here. Now, Wave has some options. He just drew the 7 so he could actually pivot this into a half flush if he wanted to. Really lots of potential for a big hand right there, but at the same time, he does need to worry a lot about Mort across the table. We can see that, ideally he's going to get that east from his perspective, because on the table right now, even though it's a little bit blocked, there's actually 1-2 and 1-9 already discarded. So it's actually going to be really hard to get into the all triplets there.
Oh yeah, and looking from Wave's perspective, the 7 pins and like just upper Pinzu in general look kind of okay dealing into Mort. Like it's not guaranteed because you can see that Mort's going for like either a triples hand or some sort of honor dragon kind of hand. So the 7 pins are not completely safe, but they look okay if Wave decides to do it.
Yeah, for sure. So it'll be really interesting to see. He's had more time to think about this turn than any other player so far. So we'll definitely get the opportunity to see where his mind ended up after he's gotten to have a real good think on this one.
For sure. I do see like 1-7, so I don't know if there are any others that are being blocked by the pause, but I don't imagine Wave will go for the half flush. He might. If he does and he gets it, that's a big reward. Okay, there's 2-7 so out, so there's only one left, and Wave decides it's not worth it.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty prudent call, honestly. And now we do see this 4-pin discarded, and looks like Nico was considering that one for a little bit, but ultimately chooses to hold off on it. Looks like Nico's going to choose to play a little bit safer, or possibly a little bit greedier if he's going for that full all triplets as well.
And Act also keeps his hand concealed. He can only win on the green dragons, so he might get punished for this if he draws an 8-mon, but I feel like it's a little unlikely.
Yeah, and this is just kind of a scary thing across the board for everyone involved, honestly, because we can see all these honor tiles still in everyone's hand, but there's almost none on the table, so they absolutely know that there's a lot of danger going on here. But despite all that, Act is going to take the reach, and he's waiting on the 8-mon or the green dragon right now.
And yep, Wave does, Wave drew that green dragon and the red dragon, and he sees none of them on the board, so there's no way. He folds out with his pair of white dragons, and very good call, because that green dragon would have been bad.
Yeah, and he's got a lot of good options here. Seeing this red dragon comes out gives him one more safe tile to work with, and at the same time he knows that those 9 are very safe as well, so he's going to be completely safe for the rest of this. Looks like at the same time Mort is going to switch things up a little bit. He's deciding that the 6 is going to be a little bit better to hold on to than the 2s, but unfortunately he ends up drawing the wrong tiles right there and isn't even going to make it to Tenpai. But at the same time, Act is able to draw the Haite, the last tile, and gets the Sumo Reach Haite hand.
Yep, he doesn't get the green dragons, but he does get the Haite, the last tile. That's, pretty fortunate for him. It's a lot of points. He is dealer. He gets to keep it. Wave with the under the sea emote. I love it. And everyone just emoting. Everyone having a good time. It's all good. All in good fun. But if we look at Act's hand right now, does have 3 honor tiles that are kind of just holding him back. It does decide to cut one, keeping his east for the chance of double east. But he'll probably cut the red dragons, and then we'll see where his hand goes to from there.
Absolutely, probably looking for just a pretty quick hand overall here for Act, so we'll see how that hand progresses. In the meantime, Mort kind of nursing that one Dora that doesn't have anything near it, so no real options just yet. Unfortunately, some pretty bad shapes over there, so Mort's going to need some help for sure, and at the same time, Act does pick up the other east wind right here, so that's actually pretty useful in this position.
Yep, and as we can see, no one else has them, so they're all in the wall waiting to be picked up. We look at Nico's hand over there, also has a Dora that's kind of hanging out. Does have the 4/5, so he can connect it with the good 3, or maybe even draws another Dora, connects it. Does draw a 4-mon, so it could be like an inside 3-mon wait. I imagine Nico's going to go all simples, go for the Tanyao hand, maybe even call to get like a Tanyao open hand, but he is kind of in the back of the pack for placement, so he might be going for a little bit more value.
And at the same time, he does get a pretty good draw there with the 6. One thing that's awkward about the 2-4-4-5 shape is that, you really need a bunch of 3s usually to be able to complete it. And we can see just from what's on the board that Mort's pretty unlikely to discard a 3. Well, at least before he discarded that 1, and ends up drawing the Tenpai right now. So this is just a closed wait on the 8, but he does have that mixed triple sequence, and there's a trap on the board. He's already discarded that 5, so the 8's going to be a lot more likely to come out.
Oh yeah, and no one else has them in hand, so they're all on the wall. If someone picks it up, they might think it's relatively safe. That being said, it is a pretty early Reachy, so maybe some of the other players might suss out that the weight might not be like as good as a 2-sided weight. So the 8 might be a little suspicious for sure.
Absolutely, but at the same time, a lot of times with those bad weights, or at least presumed bad weights, you kind of want to, try to push into it if you can, right? And Act is not going to be able to integrate the 8. Wave might be able to, but Wave is also pretty likely to play pretty defensively. And Nico can use the 8, so it's kind of a mixed bag as to whether or not people will be able to integrate them, or if they're just going to have to discard them if they want to push.
Oh yeah, I think it all boils down to just how close the other people are to winning their hands and how valuable these hands are going to be. And if all the 9-So's come out, well, the third 9-So might not come out. Oh, and Act deals in the 8. As you mentioned earlier, Act could not really integrate that 8-So, and of course deals it into more.
Yeah, that's a cool 5,200 point hand. That's going to put Mort pretty solidly back into the lead here by a little bit over 10,000 points. And we are currently moving on to East 3. So pretty reasonable starting hand for Mort here. Lots of the Manzu tiles. We'll see if he ends up deciding to go kind of down that route for the flush of some kind, or if he's going to try to make this one a little bit more normal. I think it's probably going to depend on what the next few tiles are, and if he draws the shapes to connect that 3-7 and 4-8 that are kind of isolated in his hand right now.
Definitely. He does draw that 4-pin to make that 3-4, so I think going for a flush of some sort is probably off the table unless Mort gets some crazy draws. He might just be thinking about pivoting into a pure straight, like a full straight for that. Those draw the 8-pin, so I think it's safe to say he's kind of out of the half flush or full flush route.
Yeah, that said, we still have two players who are still pretty much in the game for it. We've got Act over there and Wave are both drawing a lot of bamboo tiles. Unfortunately, that's going to play pretty badly for Act because he's not going to be able to call any if Wave starts hoarding them all.
Oh yeah, and that was a very key 3-mon draw for Mort. Mort is one away from being able to call Ricci, and he presumably will because the hand has, only Pinfu probably as the other source of value. Oh wait, but he does decide to go for the straight, realizing that he wants a little bit more value. He decides to abandon the 8-mon pair for the straight.
Yep, and that straight through hand does easily add a lot of value. This is potentially a dealer Mangan if he's able to draw it himself, just with that Itsu, that pure straight, Pinfu, and Reach. So we'll see if he ends up finding that. We can see 2 7s on the board already, though, so it could be a tough proposition.
Yeah, definitely. And Nico currently being bogged down a little bit by that Dora, but it is East round still, so he does want to keep it around to get like the 3 Dora, but well, that can't be 3 Dora because there are 2 out already. So I imagine Nico's going to ditch that pretty soon, and he does.
And ironically, it's not a bad tile to hold on to, especially for about that long. Just as a safe tile in case someone reaches or something like that. Even though the door is usually not a good choice for that, having 2 out on the table does make it a pretty good candidate.
Yep. Act does have the opportunity to call Ricci right now on the 5-8, so just has to choose which triple he wants to cut if he chooses to go that way. He can also alternatively cut the 6. Yep, he cuts the 6-So to wait on the 7-8-So.
Interesting. So kind of optimizing the best possible weight he can there, especially with the 4 in the discards already. That 7 is, as we've talked about, a lot more likely to come out.
Yeah, there are no 9s out, so people have to be concerned for that, 7, 8, 9, or 8, 9 waiting on the 7, which that 4 would not suggest at all.
Absolutely. One thing worth noting, we just went through all these foo calculations and everything like that. By discarding this way, his hand is actually worth just a little bit more potentially. If he ends up getting just the 7, then he's got the 2 triplets there. Or self-drawing the 8 will actually kick it up an extra about 300 points. Ooh, but does miss the opportunity for what could be a con if he decided to hold on to that 6. So no way to predict that, and obviously it's a lot of back and forth as to what the best play actually is.
Yep. He is unfortunately not able to con because it would change his weights. So it's so unfortunate. I would have loved to see Act go for the con, and I imagine he for sure would, just because he is in Ricci and he would get some more value that way.
Yep, in the meantime, Mort's switching up to Tanyao. Just looking for that all symbols hand, but it looks like Act is able to draw that 8, so that payoff is going to be there. He's going to get a little bit of extra points and finds the Uradora for a 5,200 point hand.
Very good on Act over there. Picked the weight that would let him draw it himself. It's always good. Nico's hand right now has a lot of terminals and honors. Pretty slow. Doesn't even have any Dora. Looking around for some value. I'd imagine he's gonna keep his the 2 dragons around for a little bit, just because of how slow this hand is.
For sure. So Wave is sitting on a pair of dragons over there. We see a pair or a set of dragons now for Act across the table. Act is definitely in a pretty good spot to make this a pretty quick hand and possibly take over the lead if he's able to hit more with this hand.
Yeah, it's very, probably like a 2,000 point hand, maybe a little bit more if he gets some good draws. He draws a Dora and decides to incorporate it. Could be like 3,900, maybe even more if he decides to hold out a little longer. But Mort does have 2 Dora.
Oh yeah, and we're giving our audience a lot of practice with the foo calculation here. It's just enough to kick that up to a 2,600 point hand over there for Act. So that'll actually tie the game if he wins with that 2,600 points.
Ooh, fancy. So that's that would be interesting to see if it happens. I can't. Yeah, we'll just have to see if that happens. But Mort does draw the 3-so. Very good draw for him. Now he can wait on the 2-5 so if his Manzu shapes solidify.
Yeah, and it's a very interesting shape, that 2-2-4-6-6, because it improves on a 2, a 3, a 5, or a 6. So definitely a pretty wide shape, and he can even call it if he wants to. And yeah, it looks like he's going to with those 2 Dora. He's just going to go right in there and go for that 3,900 point hand.
Yep, and nothing wrong with taking taking a fast win to move the dealership around. Mort, oh wow, he drew a Dora? Okay, I wasn't paying attention as I was speaking. He drew another Dora, so now that's a massive hand. Whoever gets hit by it's gonna be pretty sad that they got hit by a concealed 3 Dora hand.
Yep, it's looking to be about a 7,700 point hand right now, but at the same time, Wave is racing him. He's right there in Tenpai as well, waiting on the 2-8 versus the 2-mon and 3-so. So it'll definitely be interesting to see who gets this draw first.
Oh yeah, but Act and Nico are not gonna just let this go. Act is still pretty prime position to take this hand. He not drawing ideally, but at least he's not drawing any Kalazawa dealing.
And it looks like Nico's actually been playing pretty conservatively. Ended up keeping that 4-6 weight instead of the 7-8, which with the Tanyo in place, it makes a lot of sense. But he's just kind of perfectly playing around these hands and holding on to all the tiles that his opponents need.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be pretty curious to see what he discards here, because there's nothing like that looks too good on his part. He does decide to cut the 4-pin. I couldn't tell you if that's like the best decision he had there, but it didn't deal in, so maybe he knows something I don't.
Oh, sometimes not dealing in is the most important part, honestly. A lot of times you'd want to kind of discard down and go for open weights, but again, with this Tanyo hand, he doesn't necessarily have that luxury. So I really like the way that he's playing this, playing nice and conservatively. Well, at the very least, he's got some kind of read that's keeping him from dealing in here. It looks like Act is going to call the Pone, and he is actually waiting as well. He's got all triplets over there with the West Wind and the Green Dragon, so that actually puts his hand up to a Mangan as well.
Yeah, and that East Wind does look pretty sketchy as well. There's only 1 cut, and he unfortunately deals into Mort's all simples and 3 Dora hand for 77. So that's pretty rough for him.
Absolutely, there's nothing that feels worse than that. We can see the 3-5s already in the calls for Nico, so he knows that it's pretty hard to integrate some Dora. So the fact that he had 3 of them just concealed right there is super unlucky for Nico.
Yeah, and these things happen. It's a little unfortunate, but you gotta finish out this game, and there's still a whole half of the game left. And so Nico's going to has some work to do, but it's not over yet.
Yep, and it looks like this is gonna, right now with how this game is going, Mort would be perfectly fine if the game ended right now. With the first place and with Wave only in third, it would actually be a long way towards catching him up to first place. So Wave is definitely going to try to do something to change that before the end of the game here, and we'll see if this deal around is what he needs.
Oh yeah, and I imagine Mort's just going to try to speed this game up as best as he can, hand permitting, of course. Doesn't look like his hand currently is too openable or, speedy. But Act's hand looks pretty good. Act can go for an all simples, can go for a pinfu hand, has a lot of room for improvements. There's a lot of may even be able to go for a mixed sequences if he gets that lucky.
For sure. And that's kind of what they always tell you is the bread and butter, right? You want to build your hands towards that Pinfu Tanyao type of thing. You want to keep the Tanyao for the center tiles and the Pinfu for the good weights. So Act definitely portraying that right now and showing that, that is an absolutely legitimate strategy. And we'll see if it comes out true and he is able to draw into the winning hand.
And then if you look to the other side of the table of Act, Nico does draw some improvements, has a lot of blocks, has a little, I think he has six blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Does have 6 blocks, so he is going to have to choose which one of his, which one of his blocks he's going to cut. I'm pretty curious to see what he decides to cut. Probably the 1-3 pin because it's the worst shape.
Oh, it is actually a pretty hard choice because the 1-3 can also lend toward that mixed triple sequence, but he does choose to go for it and just go for the pure efficiency like you were saying.
Yeah, and I do respect that decision. He can go for all simples as well. He does so he does draw a 6 so that's pretty good. Now he fully cuts the 1-3 pin. Eventually, I imagine he's going to cut the 8 mon and then reach on whatever he needs to wait on for that Pinfu hand.
Yeah, but in the meantime, Mort's still holding a lot of those bamboo tiles over there, so not quite at the point where he's at a flush or anything just yet, but just the way that he's been drawing, it's been kind of a natural progression towards that flush.
And that's always good. That's always good to see whenever I'm playing. He does draw another bamboo tile, another Sozu. Will he commit now? Will he cut one of the center tiles in the other suits, or will he just cut the white dragon? He chooses to cut the 9 so he looks like he might be going just for some sort of quick reachy kind of hand.
Yep, absolutely, and I think that's a completely reasonable decision to make right here. And honestly, he's probably not even looking just for the reachy there. Like we talked about, with him being first in this game, he wants to push it along as quickly as possible. So really, if he was able to draw into something like just a Pinfu only, that he'd probably be perfectly fine with just staying silent and trying to win off that.
Oh yeah, and I think that's definitely the right call. And if he did decide to go for that full flush, and cut that 5 pin, which is just isolated by itself, you do get punished in like a wide variety of ways. There's so many tiles for you to get punished on. And as you see, he did draw the 4 pin, and now he has a new dream. It's the mixed sequences, 4, 5, 6, or yeah, so he might be able to squeeze out some value that way.
Yeah, and it looks like the game's about to speed up very, very quickly. So we can see right now that Wave is in Tenpai, waiting on just the 6 of bamboo for that Tanyao hand. And Mort has the opportunity to kind of go in that direction as well, depending on what the draws are. He could just try to open up and try to contest the deal to kick Wave off of it as quickly as it can to prevent any sort of comeback.
Yeah, Mort definitely doesn't want any shenanigans to go down, doesn't want any dealer repeats, wants to, take his nice, comfy first place and carry on. Let's see if Wave draws a oh, never mind. Mort decides to just push the hand a little, probably sensing that Wave is in Tenpai, so he's trying to increase his momentum. Does get into Tenpai himself on the 3-6 pin, but Nico declares Ricci. So many things happening at once.
Oh yeah, and this is kind of where the game was going to break, and we can see that with Nico's hand right there, he has the potential to have that 6, 7, 8 mixed triple sequence. Now at the same time, we see the 9 in Nico's discard, so he actually can't win off of anyone else's tile. It's only on a self-draw, but at the same time, Mort is able to win off a tile that Act discards and takes that all simples, pushing that game along just like he wanted.
Yep, 1,000 points, new dealer, that much closer to closing out the game.
All right, and wow, Mort actually with a pretty strong starting hand, at least to some level here. It's going to be interesting to see what direction he takes it in, but that said, he's going to be pretty happy to see that set of red dragons this early on.
Yeah, he'll probably call anything that is like reasonable. Like he'll for sure call the 2-mon to get that 1, 2, 3. He'll probably call the 7-mons as well. Probably going to cut the 1 pins and the 1 Sozu, and just go like as efficiently as he possibly can. I don't imagine he can't. Oh, he does can't.
Oh,
ooh, spicy. All right, Mort wants more.
Oh yeah, it looks like he might be sensing blood in the water and knows that Wave doesn't have another deal around and thinks he might be able to play a little bit more aggressively and try to rack up that score a little bit more. We'll see if it works out for him. And, you know, with that con call, he does add one more Dora to his hand. So with 2 Dora in that con open, that could easily transform into at least 5,200 points.
Oh yeah, he does have to deal with that one mon Dora kind of sticking out a little bit. Okay, well, he draws the 2 mon, so all is well. Yeah, he just needs to get like a few tiles. You know, he can call almost anything here, and just take the win. He might even consider going for a half flush, but I really doubt he's gonna do that.
Well, if the hand keeps progressing like this, maybe he would. But so if you're at this table right now, you know, you see the leader at the table declaring an open con just on about the 3rd or 4th discard, whichever one it was. What are you thinking? What's going through your head? How are you reading Mort's hand?
Oh man, I'm either thinking that Mort's hand, that he's already in Tempai, which is like so scary, or I'm thinking that he's you know, he has like very wide shapes and that like he's able to like take in a huge variety of tiles. None of these things are great. Nico does try to capitalize on this con by declaring Richie, waiting on that inside weight of the 7 pins.
Oh, and this is actually kind of terrifying. And actually, Mort is going to discard into the one-shot right here. So Reach Ipatsu Dora so far, and it looks like he is going to turn in Urador, and that's going to actually be a Mangan for Nico.
Oof. That's a big swing for sure. Mort wanted to move the dealers around, but not like this. He's in pretty close striking range from Act now. It's what once was a comfy lead is now, you know, a little bit too close. You know, social distancing, everybody.
And we can see that Act actually has a pretty quick potential hand over there, but so does Mort. Mort is only 1 tile draw away from a ready hand, and he's got an extremely wide weight to be able to do that.
Oh yeah, and he can accept a lot of tiles in order to get there. So this is pretty good. He's gonna just slam that Richie button for sure, I imagine.
Yeah, I think that he has a weight on every bamboo tile, or 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pin will all put him in Tempai. So, like I said, a truly monstrous weight as far as that goes if he decides to reach, if he draws any of those.
Oh yeah, and yeah, I probably wouldn't declare Richie as well if I were more there. You know, inside waiting on the 5 is a little rough. He's probably just waiting for his 6, 8 pins to connect or any Sozu.
Yeah, and I think I agree with that. You know, it's a little bit risky, and at the same time we see that come out, but here we go. This is what he's looking for, that 3-sided weight, and at the best case scenario, this actually turns into a Mangan with Pinfu straight through with, pure straight with that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 bamboo if he's able to get that.
Oh yeah, and if he Patsutsu mode, it would have been even more massive. He's a dealer. You know, the weight's very good. It's a great 3-way weight. Oh, and oh my goodness, Mort! He high rolls so hard with that. Wow, okay. Doesn't get any Uradora, but, you know, he takes the 12,000 points and is for sure happy. He gets a better lead too.
Yeah, dealing into that Mangan last turn is already forgotten. You know, he's got that 12,000 point hand, so he's even farther ahead, and more importantly, he's pushing wave score lower and lower to make this game a lot more competitive for both himself and the other players at the table.
Oh yeah, and now he has a hand that he can totally open up, take the souths, take a quick win if he so chooses, or he can, you know, decide to stick around a little bit, build some value. Nico, oh sorry.
Nope, the interesting thing will be what he does with this Dora, because we can see it hanging out right there. You know, it's not exactly a great tile, but at the same time, having that 1-2 shape is something that you have the opportunity to discard early on as well, if you're hoping to kind of integrate that Dora and build a shape around it.
It does look like he might be speculating a little bit on a Chanta, the half outside hand, a little bit. But then he will have to eventually cut that 4-mon that he has, and it's part of the 2 4-mon shape. A lot of Manzu being cut by Nico, so maybe he just keeps that around, but I think he's speculating for a little bit more value.
Yeah, Nico really trying to push that half flush, and I can't blame him in this position. You know, if he's able to draw the concealed half flush, or possibly even just the all triplets half flush, it's really going to go a long way having a Mangan hand like that.
Yeah, he may end up just not doing that and just keeping the 6-7 way. Okay, he does draw the 8, so going for the half flush is a little bit not. It's not as good. It would have been great for him to wait on the 5-8 mon because it looks just so safe into Nico. That would have been a pretty good trap. He does have the opportunity to do that if he builds his hand a little bit.
Yeah, and he's kind of in a little bit of a weird spot. Normally, you like having that 5, 6, 7, 8 around, but unfortunately, we can see in the discards, he's already got the 9s discarded and the 3, 4 as well. So pretty much any shape he tries to extend that into is going to be footy 10. He won't be able to win off of any other person's discard. He'd have to draw it himself. So not saying it's something that we should rule out right now, but it is just something he has to be aware of and keep an eye out for as he's continuing to build his hand.
Oh yeah, and he also has, he has too many pairs in his hand. He has 3 pairs, so the chance of this hand becoming a hand waiting on the 5-8 for a pair is a little bit unlikely. He does draw the 9 mon, so it's a bit of a backfire. He doesn't even consider it. It's like, I'm not going to deal with that. I imagine he's going to end up waiting on 2 triples, cutting either the 5 or the 8 mon, waiting on the north, the 7 sozu, or the 2 sozu.
Yeah, it seems most likely to me as well, but at the same time, it looks like Mort is pushing this game along and makes the call right here, and with this shape right here, he's going to go ahead and choose to discard the door before it gets too dangerous.
Yep, he's decisively cutting the door, so I imagine he's going to go for the half flush if it comes around to him, or if he gets the 8 so, he's probably just going to call the 8 so and just try to end this game right now. Or not this game, but end this hand.
Yep, and discards the 9, so waiting on the 8-5 pin right now. We can see a couple of those in Axe discard already, and 1-5 across the board, but it's still a good number of tiles.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. He's waiting on the last remaining green dragon. I love it. I love it.
Oh, this actually feels a little bit bad now. He ended up discarding that 9 before. If he'd held onto it, it would actually be a half outside hand as well.
Yeah, it's a little unfortunate for Mort, but I don't think he minds not getting as much value. He just needs to end this hand. And if anyone draws that last green dragon, it's for sure going to come out. He's probably going to change his weight, but he can't change his weight right now because he'd be pretty done.
Well, it's actually a pretty interesting position to be in because, he's far and away, far ahead of people at this point. So he really doesn't want to deal into anyone's hand. So this green dragon kind of serves a dual purpose. Mm-hmm. Like you said, it's very likely to come out if someone draws it with 2 of them on the table. But at the same time, it's going to be a very safe tile if he ends up needing one, if someone else's hand starts looking dangerous, especially with how many calls he has on the table.
Oh yeah, and he can choose to swap the weights around if like a tile looks pretty dangerous. But all that doesn't matter. Wave draws his own tile, draws a Dora for a pretty monstrous hand. Well, 4,000 points, but all the points matter.
Yep, completely reasonable. Now he's just a few thousand points behind being able to take over second, and that would be a great boon for Wave. You mentioned before with the score situation, having a low second or something like that is perfectly reasonable here, so he's definitely going to be looking for that. But unfortunately with this hand, it's a pretty ugly hand, honestly. He might have to end up going for that half flush to be able to get enough points for it.
Oh yeah, he does draw a good tile for it, and does look like he might be going towards it, but he'll eventually have to end up cutting that 4-6 pin shape, which is going to be not too great in terms of efficiency.
Yep, looking at the other hands of the table, we can see that there's 3 players each holding on to one of those Dora green dragons. Not going to let go of it too easily, especially not seeing that sort of call by Wave. That's a very, very aggressive call to be seeing this early in the game, especially so late in South 4.
Yeah, it's a pretty hard signal that he's gonna go for some kind of flush or like all triples because that pawn of the East doesn't give him any value. Well, like any Yaku, any points. Everyone else kind of knows that he's going for something a little unusual. Everyone else's hands are pretty slow, pretty slowed down by this Dora. No one wants to discard it. Everyone's kind of playing like Dora chicken. Who cuts it first? Kind of deal going on.
All right, so looking around, people still holding on to these green dragons, really afraid to discard it into Wave's hand there, and I really can't blame him, honestly. But it looks like Nico is going to go ahead and discard the 2, and the Chi is going to come out, so it's still continuing to build towards that half flush. Now, the concern here is that the half flush with no other Yaku is only worth 2,000 points, so really he needs to directly hit Act with this sort of hand, but it's possible that Act doesn't know that and may still push a little bit more aggressively than he would otherwise.
And this was a very interesting discard by Mort. He does choose to keep his value, keep the green dragons, and gets rewarded, gets to call the pawn, and now Tempai, waiting on the 7 pins and the white dragons.
Oh man, just a flurry of action right there. A couple calls, and Nico is waiting, but cannot win off of the 9. Unfortunately, would not have a Yaku for it.
Oh yeah, and it does look like maybe Nico's going for a half flush of his own in Manzu, but it's just kind of a trap. But it doesn't matter. Mort gets the win with 3 Dora hands, so it's gonna be another Mangan, 8,000 points. Even putting Mort even further into the lead.
Oh yeah, that was an absolutely monster of a game. We can see he's 30,000 points over Wave, and with the winning bonus, that's going to be another 20,000. So that by itself, I think, might be putting Mort in first place for the standings. Let's go ahead and take a look at those standings and see where they ended up.
Okay, so interesting to note that win off of Act put Wave into second, and so Wave doesn't lose as many points as he normally would have if he ended up in third. But if we look at the the rankings, yep, Wave is still in first.
Oh yeah, that's a little bit of a shift there was just enough to keep the score from being neck and neck. But that said, 5,000 points is almost nothing in this. That means that the placement between Mort and Wave is very likely to decide the winner in Game 3 here.
Oh yeah, and both Nico and Act are probably going to maybe not work together per se, but they're gonna try to put Wave and Mort down, third and fourth, just because it's in their best interest to be in first and to have Wave and Mort be fourth. That makes the point differentials a little bit less, a little bit more lenient.
Oh yeah, and then we can't count them out or anything like that. We can see that with the scores as they are right now, if we had a repeat of this game with Nico or Act taking Mort's place, and then Wave getting a bad last that like Nico just got here, it would be very, very close to having one of them overtake. So this is still easily anyone's game, and we'll definitely be looking for what's going to go on from here. So at that point then, Wave and Mort, if you're in their positions, how are you viewing the other person? Like, what sort of things are you looking for in that next game to be able to make sure that you can come out on top?
Well, if I were Wave or Mort, I'd for sure try to, play a little bit more, not be as aggressive, I think. Just try to play a little bit safer. Maybe, not call Ricci on some hands that don't need to have Ricci called on. Hands that have inherent value. I'd probably just... be Dama-ten is what it's called. Just be fully concealed and try to just win without, risking, overly risking some of my points there.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be interesting to see exactly how that pans out because, like we said, Nico and Act are going to try to target Mort and Wave as much as possible. So I think if they're able to kind of stay back there and keep those hands silent, it could really benefit them in the long run, just from a defensive perspective to make sure they don't end up dealing into Nico or Act.
Oh yeah, they definitely don't want anything like that to happen. Wave, Mort might have to do a little bit more if everything's looking pretty even in the south round. Maybe has okay, well now I have to be above Wave in standings. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it'll definitely be exciting to see how it concludes. But before we get to the last game, we're gonna pass it back to Tips for just a little bit more of Mahjong lessons here.
All right, back to Tips.
Thank you, Crow. Thank you, Pio. Exciting game, exciting casting. As Luke promised before, we have a second points video for all of you out there. The points really matter this time because there's no more games after this. This is the final game. So our players are already well equipped. I'm sure they know this. But for those of you out there who are also looking to make it to the finals of Catfood Bowl, you might be interested in it. Let's check it out.
Okay, folks, while the final game is setting up, we're going to talk about how you turn Han and Fu into your actual score. For example, non-dealer 3 and 40, 3 Han, 40 Fu, Roan is 5,200 points. But why? Alright, let's go through it. First, you need to figure out what is called your hand points. To do that, you take the Fu and double it twice. Then you double it for every Han that you have. If you get a number over 2,000, stop and just use 2,000. Now, if you have a lot of Han, you don't need to do any of this. 5 Han, it just goes to 2,000. 6 and 7 goes to 3,000. 8, 9, and 10 goes to 4,000. 11 and 12 goes to 6,000. And 13 or more Oryakumon goes to 8,000. Alright, you got that number? That's your hand score. Each player owes you that much. If they're dealer, they double it. If you're dealer, they double it. Now it's time to get paid. If it's a sumo, each player rounds their number up to the next 100 and pays. If it's a roan, add up all of the numbers, then round it up, and then that dealing in player pays the whole thing. Alright, let's do some examples. 3 and 40 sumo. Player on your right is dealer. So 3 and 40, so you start with 40, then the first two doubles, 80, 160, then the 3 Han, 320, 640, 1280. The players owe you 1280. Dealer over here owes you 2560. So from these players you get 1300, which is 1280 rounded up, and from the dealer here you get 2600, which is 2560 rounded up. Let's do 3 and 30 sumo, but you're dealer. You start with 30, then 60, 120, and 240, 480, 960. Double that is 1920. Everybody owes you that, so they pay you 2,000 each. Well, what if it were a run? So everybody owes you 1920, so one person pays all of it. They add that all up, it comes to 5760. So they pay 5,800. See how the rounding makes it so sumo and roan sometimes are different total amounts? 5,800 versus a total of 6K? That's just how points works. So that's how your Han and Fu become your actual score. Next time you play, see if you can figure out your points yourself. Or just let Ichihime do it. She's never wrong you. Alright, let's get back to the last game of the finals.
Thanks, Luke, for that informative video. Hopefully you guys can all now count your own points. Whew. Maybe you can pull some very fancy numbers that aren't usually seen on the table, like 70 Fu and 2 Han, for example. As you can see here, our competitors are fighting for these prizes provided by Yostar. First place, the 10 summon scrolls, the 500,000 coppers, the physical merchandise, the portrait frame to show off when you go back to ranked, the physical certificate and trophy, and the pass to the advanced tournaments. Second place will get 5 summon scrolls, 200,000 coppers, and merch. Third place, 3 summon scrolls, 150,000 coppers and merch. Fourth place, 2 summon scrolls, 100,000 coppers and some merch. And 5th and 6th place will get 1 summon scroll, 50,000 coppers, and merch as well. So, as we go back to our scores, it's important to notice here that it's not a winner-take-all tournament in this case. Everybody can get something. So if the situation does look dire for Nico or Act, they may actually fight for 3rd or 4th in order to just position better. But of course, everyone will be aiming for 1st place right from the start. And as I said last time, last Catfood Bowl, Wave was actually here in 4th place, well in the negatives, and pulled an amazing comeback in Game 3 to bring it back to 1st. This time, Wave having to defend the top spot. A different challenge, I suppose. Act is in Wave's old spot, looking to make the huge Gyakuten, the come from behind victory, the reversal. Mort in 2nd with 58.95, and Nico in 3rd at minus 11.07. Now, to introduce our final games casting team, I present to you, drum roll please, myself. Surprise! It's me. I'll be casting the last game alongside Joe. What's up?
What is up? It's nice to hear your voice again.
Hey, we are getting ready.
Yeah. Boy, what a game this is shaping up to be. I mean, it's kind of interesting because, as you say, the nobody's necessarily 100% out of it, but we might see essentially two horse races playing out side by side, where it's really all about the placement difference between Wave and Act, and between Nico and between Nico and Nico and Act, and then Wave and Mort.
That's right. Bringing it back up here. So, as I take a look at the Catfood Bowl rules, I believe the UMA, or the placement bonuses at the end of the game, are 15 and 5. So let's do some calculations real quick.
Quick maths.
Quick maths as we wait for the game to begin. So Wave is about 64 plus 14. That's 78 plus about another 1. About 70 now. We can round it to about 80 points ahead of Act. Assuming Act comes in first and Wave comes in last, you'd get plus 15 to Act, minus 15 to Wave, so that's 30. And that's best case scenario for Act. That leaves a pure point difference of 50,000. Act would need 50,000 points and basically 3 placements to make this upset, which is definitely possible. I feel like Wave did something like that in the last tournament with the insane Rinchan Haneman.
I mean, I think Wave did essentially that in the last game of the semifinals. I believe Wave finished that game after that massive Yakuman with something like 50,000 points over the 4th place person in that game, who was in the negative. So just one hand, if it's the right one, can absolutely make miracles happen.
That's right. But if Wave is not in 4th, for example, if Wave is in 2nd, then Act would need another 20,000, would need a 70,000 point physical spread, like raw points without the UMA bonus.
In order to get first, yeah.
That's right.
And you gotta wonder, if you're in that position, really very much betting on a miracle to make that 1st place, whether you might focus some more of your energy just towards, you don't need to beat everyone as long as you beat Nico.
Yeah,
Act, that is.
To get that 3rd place.
Yeah, get those extra coppers.
Yeah. Fortunately, everyone will be receiving a piece of physical merchandise. That's
Very
always
exciting.
nice. That's not something you can really get by grinding the ranked ladder. But it looks like our game is about to begin here. So let's get right into it.
Ikuzo.
Gambare! Yoroshiku onegaishimasu! Alright, so starting here, we have Mort in the first dealer slot. Mort has actually a pretty decent hand here. You can see the 5, 6, 6, 7 in dots. You got the pair of North. Mort doesn't really need that many points. Of course, this is the very beginning of the game. This is a quick hand worth not too much. Wave on the right has also a quick hand that's not really worth too much either. Already 3 completed melds there. Finds a potential pair. Across the table, Act has got a pair. Actually has a door in the completed meld, the 1, 2, 3 so there. And a lot of good shape. So Act fast as well. Nico on the left has got the value. A little bit slower, but Nico, I think, the only player who can really reasonably call their tiles with the green dragons, giving them an open Yaku high.
Though, as you say that, Mort has now paired up his red dragon, and with, he had a lot of floating tiles going on. He had that 5, 6, 6, 7, but, a pair of off wins and a lot of floating tiles makes your hand a little bit less exciting. But now they've got that red dragon and can open up if they decide, hey, I just really want to end this hand, make a few points up, and maybe get a chance for something better in my next dealership.
Yeah, that's right. Sometimes a fast hand isn't as fast as you think if you have to wait to draw it yourself. So having the ability to call and open your hand makes a huge difference. As we can see, Nico very likely will have to discard his red dragon if he wants to finish his hand, which would speed Mort up as well. You do notice Mort's 4-6 mon wait though. Act has already discarded 2 of the 5 mon, and we see Wave didn't have to open his hand. Actually has somewhat valuable hand there if he can get the 2 pin.
Yeah, there's a chance for a nice maybe 3-9 there if someone else discards it. Could go as high as 52, I think, if he draws it himself. Although with only 1 2-pin left in the wall, it's far more likely that he wins on the other side, the less valuable side.
Yeah, there's always the chance at Uradora. Let's see, Nico. I don't even think Nico can afford to fold even on the very first hand, considering the point differential, unless Nico's playing for 3rd place.
Yeah, which, as we were discussing, it might be the way that he decides to play this game. It all depends on how much you want to throw your fate into the hands of the tiles.
That's right.
Perhaps.
I think it looks like Nico's swinging for the fences here, though. That red dragon that he discarded last turn was definitely not a safe tile. We see Mort calling it. Not really all that close. Still looks to be 2 away from Tempai, but it is Mort's dealer, so because he is responsible for half of the points on a sumo, as we just heard from Luke, he's more willing to push into this Ricci in order to protect his points and his dealer turn.
Yeah, interestingly, Nico decided to throw out the safe east. He had been building a 7 pairs and, in fact, drew the 3-mon immediately afterwards, which would have given him Tenpai had he held on to those easts just 1 turn longer.
Yeah, like we said, Nico really had a valuable hand, and with the -11 coming into this game, has all the reason to go for it. Actually, Nico hits Tempai here right now. No Ricci.
He does. And probably a wise move, just hanging on and hoping that you can draw it yourself. Because the 6-pin is definitely not a tile that looks safe against Wave, but there it goes.
Misses out on 1,600 points here. 7 pairs with Dora. Normally you see 4 Han, you expect about a Mangan, but 7 pairs, as we learned, is only 25 Fu. So it will come up a little bit short of a Mangan. But Nico's still happy to take those points. Alright, looking at this hand, Wave has a Dora in a not a great shape, but at least it's in a shape, and a completed triplet of white dragons. That's good. Another triplet of 4, so Wave's hand extremely fast, might have some value there as well. Act on the right has a Dora, but it's isolated. The rest of Act's hand is basically complete though. Act 1 away from Tempai, it just doesn't look like it's going to be with the Dora. It's possible.
It's entirely possible. If they draw the 2 or the 4 mon, then they absolutely can use that.
That is true. That is true. There's actually more chance to use the Dora there than I thought. Nico across the table actually has a really good shape on the Dora, and his hand is coming together fairly well. It's all inside for now. The shapes are solid. Might even be able to add Pinfu, so Nico could be looking to make a stunning comeback here. Mort on the left, also a decent hand. He's had a few turns now while I've been talking to fix it up. Mort looking at a pure straight just like last game, but Mort's hand actually looks a little bit slower.
Yeah, it looks like he's got although that 5 mon draw definitely gets him a lot closer to that full straight, which is really what you're hoping for.
Yeah, Wave here getting burned. First the 7-so draw, then the 5-so discard, then the 6-so, then the 5-so again. Getting burned for discarding that 5-so. But Wave committing to using the Dora here, causing a little bit of inefficiency and a little bit of backfire. Act also committing to use the Dora on the right, and as a result has not found Tempai yet.
Although I can hardly blame him for the decisions that he's made. I mean, if you see that you're 1 away from Tempai and you can use the Dora in it, then if you just don't get the tiles to make that happen, then and you don't see anything better, then what choice do you have but to just continue discarding all the tiles you draw.
That's
which
right.
is just sometimes what happens.
In the meantime, though, that's given Mort all the time he needs. Everybody is one away from Tempai, some with better weights than others. In fact, I would say Mort has a decent weight right now.
Yeah, it depends on whether he can actually make that pair. If he could pair up the 5-so, which actually he can't do, given that there are 2 on the table and 1 in axe hand. And he just about can't pair up the green dragon either. But if he could manage to make a pair happen, then you would have a really ideal 3-6-9 weight.
That's
in
right.
Manzu, and the 3 would be an extra Dora, but the 9 would give him a full straight, which would be 2 extra Han.
In the meantime, Nico draws Tempai here, taking a long time to think about whether it's worth reaching. I think it's a solid move to Ricci. The value here cannot be understated, especially if Nico's shooting for first, as it looks like he's trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, we weren't sure if he was going to really push very hard this game, but everything so far has suggested that he is absolutely gunning for everything that he can.
Yep. It looks like Act may, depending on what Act gets as the final tile. Oh, this could actually be good for Act. This allows Act to discard a safe tile. Not a literal safe tile, but not the ones that are actually going to deal in.
Yeah. Finally, he's gotten to that 10-ply that has been staring him in the face since really the second discard.
Oh, and Act decides to play closed. Catches the 5. That's right. It's an interesting trap that's set by Act here. Because Nico's already in Ricci, if people are defending against Nico, for example with that 5-mon, they might discard it and then Act can win sneakily. Unfortunately, it's not worth nearly as much as if a Ricci has been made, but those are the trade-offs.
Mm-hmm. But he does get to steal Nico's 1,000-point bet, which is not nothing.
Yep, that's pretty big. If they're playing for third as opposed to first, then this fight is really important for them. And in fact, our third and fourth players are first and second in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at the hands this time, Act has a nice outside hand here. Outside hands tend to be slow as a matter of course, and this one is no exception. Finds a pair of 8s which would not fit in an outside hand, but holds on to them. It's good to keep your options open. Nico on the right has one completed melt, but has a few good shapes, just not really any value there yet. Across the table, Mort looking at a fairly slow hand, not too much potential there yet. Wave on the left actually looking at a solidly fast hand. Decent shapes, not much value yet, but Ricci could change that.
Yeah, you, as we've mentioned time and time again, anytime people have triplets in their hand, you're opening up the potential for an Ura bomb or making a Khan and getting a Dora bomb that way. And so a seemingly cheap, valueless hand can explode in an instant.
Yeah, in fact, this is actually a Ricci Nomi, but Wave has the legendary triplet of 3-so with the ability to con on it. It's not part of his weight. The 3-so is still in the wall. That's not quite it. That's not quite it.
Not quite. Try again next time.
Yeah, I was definitely excited for a second when I saw that tile.
What's funny is that, well, it was funny. Both Mort and Nico had the 2-4-so closed shape, and likely would have accepted the 4-so if, the last 3-so if it come into their hand.
That's right.
Since I started saying that sentence, Mort ditched the 4.
Yep. Mort with the disciplined fold here, drawing one of Wave's deal-in tiles and holding it while somewhat folding the hand. Oh, it looks like Mort is going to a full fold now, destroying the hand in order to play safely. Gets another one of Wave's tiles. Don't expect it to come out here.
It's always very easy to see that happening in to see the benefits of folding from our casting perspective. You see someone who's already folding draw a red tile, and you think, man, sure is good that they are playing it safe.
Yeah, although Mort is one of the players who has the luxury of being able to fold. You can see Nico and Act with their minus scores may be more willing to push just as a matter of position. Nico drew another deal in tile, but fortunately for him, it actually fits in his hand perfectly.
The interesting thing with Mort's hand now is that he actually had the potential to try to win with 7 pairs, although it seems that he has foregone that in the interest of absolutely completely pushing.
That's
sorry,
right.
folding.
And Wave finds Sumo, so that's an extra Han for Wave. No others though. No 3-so con, unfortunately.
It's a shame. It's such a shame.
And 1,000 points short of flipping the script on Mort. But we still have more than half the game to play. We still have East 4 as well as the entire South round.
Indeed, we do. Let's see. If the difference between one place and the next is 10 points from the UMA,
That's
and
right.
the difference between Mort and Wave is about, let's say, 6 or 7.
Yes.
So if Mort can get a place up on Wave and an extra few thousand points leads, that I think would be enough to flip the placement and net Mort first place overall.
With a difference of only 6 to 7, just placing above Wave gives Mort the win. And of course,
yes, it's a difference of 10. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, Wave placing above Mort. Obviously, unless one of our 2 dark horses here plays a massive hand, which I won't rule out, Wave would be the champion, barring those circumstances.
So yeah, Mort's definitely feeling pretty good at the moment, having this kind of face-off with Wave at the bottom of the current game.
Yeah. A couple things I did want to mention. I noticed on the run-up here, Wave really liked waiting on the 3-so a lot. I'm sure you'd be pleased. I'd be pleased as well. And it looks like he might have a chance to do it again this time. We'll see.
It's definitely not out of the question yet. Or he could. It seems like he really would want to call pawn on that 2-pin Dora if he gets the chance.
Yeah, unfortunately it fits in Act's hand quite well here and is probably not coming out. And Mort has made a lot of Suji traps on his way up to the top here. Suji traps being an open-ended wait, can wait on either the 4, the 7, a 6 or a 9, tiles that are 3 away, because that's how your runs are 3 tiles long in Mahjong. Oh, does not have to wait on the 3-so.
Manages to get get 3 of them, although the last one is locked into Nico's hand. So we will yet again be deprived of seeing a lovely 3-so con.
Unfortunate. But yeah, Wave scoring a somewhat hidden 3-Han hand. Wave has a secret banger, if you will.
Very much so.
An ace in the hole here. This one will actually hurt, even though it looks like open Tanya right now.
Act, it looks like, has made his attempt by and does decide to call Richie.
Yeah, I was gonna say Wave's hand could hurt, but Act's hand is gonna hurt even more if someone deals into that. Wave not really having many options for defense here.
Well, they do actually have the same number of Han. Act has Richie, Pinfu, and 1 Dora, matching Wave's Tanyao 2 Dora.
Not even really on purpose, but that 6-mon was safe against Act, and so sort of coerced out of Mort's hand, Wave is able to capitalize. And that puts Wave at a solid 7,800, I believe. Yeah, 7,800 ahead of Mort in the race for first place.
But that is, the game is far from over. That is 1 Mangan away. Mort is only 1 Mangan away from upsetting that again. And this hand has a very real possibility of turning into that.
That's right.
gotta
Mort
say.
looking at the pure double sequence, not quite completed yet, but almost there. I believe Mort is 2 away. Oh, make that 1 away from Tenpai. No actual confirmed Yaku yet, but the pure double sequence could give him some points. Still not confirmed, but it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Although there is only one mon left in the wall at this point, with the 2 of them sitting over in Nico's hand.
That's right. A lot of trouble for all the other players. None of them anywhere close to Tenpai. But we are in the south round now, so it's sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place. You don't have much time to win, but also how do you win with a hand like this facing a dealer Ricci on the first line?
Absolutely. You sort of start to... Oh, well... I guess you don't know what you start
So
to do.
Mort hits the Ricci only side, no Ura, but he does get Sumo for an extra Han.
And he has, just like that, he has halved the lead that Wave had over him.
That's right, and his new dealer turn bears fruit. 3 Dora in the initial hand. Not...
Oh boy!
Yeah, even with an easy way to call and make this fast with the South, which are now the round wind. So they are Yakuhai this time. Do we have any challengers? On the right, Wave has 1 completed meld and a couple pairs, but the rest of his hand is really slow. Act has the last Dora, 1 completed meld, still pretty slow though. On the left, Nico... not really. Not really for
Yeah,
Nico either.
That's not a lot.
So Mort looking in a really good position. Finds another tile to continue his onslaught.
Yeah, the kiss of death from Mort here would be, well, I was about to say it would be...
It would be that.
I would have said if Act had paired up that South, it would have been really bad news for Mort, but fortunately for him.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mort 1 away from Tenpai here, can accept a ton of tiles, another 6 mon, another 2 so, 1 so, 3 so, 5 mon, 7 mon, 9 pin. He's got a lot of options. Well, he's got a few less now, but he's trying to play it a little more sneaky, holding onto the red dragon.
And not only that, but if someone throws another 9 pin, then he would actually have a pretty nice weight on the 6 mon and the 5 mon.
That's right. Although, considering he's holding this red dragon, he might be trying to make a sneaky play. But no red dragons have been released yet. Discarded. There's 1.
Yeah, what I was gonna say is that pair weight on a lone dragon like that does tend to be a good move if you're trying to be sneaky, but it is made much better if that dragon is not a live tile. That is, if someone else has already discarded 1, that makes that pair weight a heck of a lot nicer.
That's right. In the meantime, Wave seems to be the only one mounting up a counterattack. Wave... Is that 1 away from... Yes! Wave 1 away from Tenpai. That's a Pinfu possibility. I would say it has a chance to accept Dora, but we know where all of those are. Act finds Tenpai here. Also on a Pinfu with a 3-sided open-ended weight, 369.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting to see what Mort does in the face of this.
Oh, this could be bad. This could be bad for Mort. Will Mort be tempted? Makes the call, but what does he discard?
Oh no! Man, that is brutal.
Well, it's not as brutal as it could have been. No Uradora.
Oh, but it does undo the hand that he just won in
Yeah.
the round before.
Big problem. Mort has no more dealer turns. And in this format without red 5s, Mangan are not quite as easy to come by. He needs 8,000 points, a Mangan worth of points, and Wave trying to stop him this hand. Wave going for a quick hand here. Act on the right, collecting points. Collecting points. Act has a massive hand this time. The South Dora right there. Possible half flush, but I think he might take a little bit faster and settle for the Mangan, especially with it just coming out there. Across the table, Nico's got not the fastest hand, but it has a couple good shapes and a pair. We'll see what happens. Mort on the left is actually putting together a counterattack. That's probably why he discarded that. Oh
Oh boy.
Back on the right. Doesn't do
It
it!
does not
Doesn't
con.
do it! To be fair,
That is
that would actually have made a Hanemon because Act is double south, right? So that would be 2 Han plus 4, that would have been a Hanemon. Doesn't go for it.
Hanemon. I would have found it almost impossible to not call that con, I gotta say. I mean, you know that cons are risky moves. They're never not risky.
Yeah, it really looks like Act is playing for
but,
3rd place here. I think Act is just trying to win the battle of the minus, not going for the whole thing. But maybe a half flush is still in the cards. Half flush would still be a Hanemon, so maybe Act is taking that route. Wave has actually found Tenpai though. Oh, what a spoiler. Wave hits, but that does mean at least for Act that the round doesn't advance. And for Mort as well, might be okay with this happening. Gives him another chance to score points and take it back from Wave.
Oh, that is not a nice draw from Mort though. That's kind of a brutal hand over there.
Wave here with about a middle of the road draw. Not super value, but you've got looks at Pinfu, you know, you've got the 5-6 in Pinzu, you got the 3-4-5-6 in Sozu. So this is a medium speed hand with potential value, but nothing too fancy. Act on the right, looking at a number of pairs. That's a huge draw for Act. Act could maybe push it to a pure straight, but right now Act looks like a Pinfu hand as well. Not too much value. Act could be looking for more value, or maybe, as we said, just trying to take 3rd away from Nico. Nico across the table, also looking at a Pinfu hand, but is holding on to that Dora. Nico is about 2 away from Tenpai. On the left, Mort has actually made some improvements on his hand in the meantime. Possibly going for a half flush. Still quite slow though.
Yeah, definitely still a lot of work to do building that hand up. Even though they've got a lot of Pinzu tiles at this point, they're still kind of awkward shapes. None of those nice 2-sided shapes, and only one completed meld with that 2-pin that he just drew.
That's right. Yeah, Mort's still in a lot of trouble. I'd actually be very surprised if Mort gets Pinfu from that hand.
Yeah, definitely.
Nico pulling an interesting maneuver here. Doesn't take the Tenpai. Nico had a decent 2-sided weight, but no value. It was Riichi only across the table. So Nico cuts out both of the terminal pair, the 1-pin there. Trying to play for something, you know, maybe a Pinfu, maybe a Tanyao, maybe both of them.
Actually, Wave made a very similar decision a couple of turns ago. They drew into Tenpai, but instead of reaching with a 3-mon edge weight, they decided to throw this 1-2 shape and have now made it back to Tenpai with just an open Tanyao.
That's right. And Mort is actually... Oh, I think this could be bad. Mort, that's what I was gonna say. Mort looking for the full flush, but has this stumbling block of the 5-cell, which Wave just got Tenpai on.
Sometimes that's just how it be.
Yeah. And while these have been small hands and the dealership has not passed around, the difference is now almost 13,000 points. That is more than a Hanemon even for Mort to come back.
It is, and with South 2, we're basically 3/4 of the way through the game, so time is running out.
That's right. Wave, actually, our former champion. Actually, Wave is using the border. I might have said that he was being humble and not using it, but today he's definitely using it. The border of the previous Catfood Bowl champion. There it is.
Man, what a
power move.
What a good job. Yeah, power move to be sitting here in first place. Very much with a good solid lead and looking very likely to take first place again, and at the same time being like, oh, again.
Yeah, Wave is looking to back. It's so hard to back a Mahjong tournament. Like, I don't even know how often it's ever been done. This is pretty crazy. We might be making Mahjong history here.
Man, Mort really is liking these flush hands right now. I mean, he's still got several unpaired honors, but his hand is otherwise very full of Sozu tiles.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, even an open full flush is 5 of the 6 Han of Haneman. You just need to put either a Dora or a full straight or something together.
Yeah, unfortunately, none of the current Dora would be able to fit into a full flush hand.
That's
But
right.
you never know what cons might come out. But I do think that as we saw by Act refusing to call that con, even on the Dora South, I think players are kind of wary at the moment.
Yeah, Mort just moved into 1 away from Tenpai. Ishan 10, 1 away now. Wave has been 1 away for a while. Cuts the 3 in order to use the 6. Kind of interesting.
Man, Nico just is like, hey, whatever that Joe guy said, I really got to make sure he's about as wrong as he could have been.
Nico needs points, and Nico is already Tenpai. You can see he's waiting for that tile Act just drew. And so, finding 4 Condora would have been huge for him, and I think he's just willing to take the shot there. Unfortunately, gave Act 2 Dora, and as you said, gave Mort the Haneman.
Absolutely. Although, Mort just kind of has to really hope at this point that he doesn't draw that 3-6 pin that Nico is waiting on, because he has no choice but to throw it, really.
Oh, it's the 3-cell. The 3-cell comes out against Mort, but it's not the tile he's waiting on yet. He could be waiting on it in 1 turn, though.
Could be waiting on it at any point. Somebody throws that last, or if Wave decides to throw out that 2-so.
Yeah, Wave has collected a 4th pair here, but still has not really managed to put together a hand. Act has a shot now. Act 1 away from Tenpai. Not the greatest Tenpai, no matter which tile he draws, but it's still, considering there's only 11 tiles left, it's something. Oh, Nico draws 2nd Dora. Could go to a worse weight in order to improve points, and does do so.
Wave avoids dealing in with that 8-so that
That's
he just
right.
drew.
I was gonna say, where are the other 5 pin? They're all still in the wall. This is insane.
Yeah.
There's
gets
one.
into the ideal.
There's one
gets
left.
into the ideal 3-sided weight.
There's one.
But unfortunately, he could potentially be head bumped by Nico if the 8-so comes out.
That's
but it
right.
doesn't.
Nobody wins, and the dealer passes.
Yeah.
Actually, Wave probably pretty happy about this, all things considered.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this in one of the games before. If you're in first place, here, Wave's not in first place overall, but certainly in first place in the tournament. If you're dealer and you're in first place, sure, you don't really need to win any more points, but you're at risk of somebody like Mort sumoing a big hand, and you have to pay a full half of that the cost of that hand.
Yeah, as you said, Mort was ready, 3-sided Haneman Tenpai, and just could not draw the last tile, and it did not come out from anyone, and Wave held it safely, and Nico was ready to head bump on the 8-so. Just a lot of unfortunate circumstances coming together there for Mort, even though he did make it to Tenpai.
Yeah.
Yeah, this hand, though, looks like everyone's got a fighting shot. Act has Dora. The weights aren't super great yet. Like, the shapes are edge and inside weights. But Act does have a fighting shot if he draws the right tiles. On the right, Nico also has a bunch of bad weights, but is still only 2 tiles away from Tenpai with that 5-mon that he just drew. But actually, he decides to stay 3 tiles in order to try and make more value. Mort across the table, really good hand this time. You got your Tanyao, your all inside. You got your Pinfu, and possibly Ricci. I'd expect him to Ricci for sure, considering he needs about 11,000 points. I'd expect the Ricci. Wave also looking to stop things here. Wave 1 away from Tenpai, probably the best hand on the board right now. It's got a Dora, it's 1 away, it's got Pinfu.
It is what is often referred to as a perfect one away, because all of the tiles that get him to Tenpai allow him to have a two-sided weight when he reaches Tenpai.
Right.
Although interestingly, he threw away the 5-so Dora almost without thinking, just drew it and threw it because it didn't fit into his hand. But now it seems like he has decided to. He threw the 1-so for a reason I'm honestly not sure,
Yeah,
but did manage to get back into Tenpai and is able to call Roan.
I'm fairly sure he's fishing for value here. First of all, he's got all inside. He's got Tanya. Second of all, the mixed triple sequence is on the horizon. I highly doubt it'll show up. But he's Tenpai now, and he has not called Ricci, knowing he doesn't really need the points, and the weight is pretty bad right now.
Yeah. There are all 4 of his weights are in people's hands already. There's a possibility that it might come out of Act's hands, but it
Yeah.
seems pretty cemented in Nico's and in Mort's hands.
That's right. I think it's pretty likely to come out from Act, though. It might even come right here. Okay, not yet.
It's possible, although I'm sure he would much rather draw a 3-mon and convert that into a useful shape.
Yes.
To a finished set.
I think Act is going to need to draw 3-mon in order to be bailed out here. Otherwise, this might actually push Wave off. Nico, not with the greatest weight, but it has the Nakasuji or the center Suji trap. Combining the 2-so with the 8-so, a 2-5-8 is no longer or a 2-5 weight is not possible, and a 5-8 weight is not possible. So people might think the 5-so is safe. But it's Dora, so I think...
Yeah, I was gonna say,
yeah.
even with the Suji, pushing the Dora is always a little bit nerve-wracking.
That's right.
Looks like Mort has made the decision to start bailing his hand, throwing that 6 and the 7-mon.
Act finds the late game Tenpai here. Ricci probably doesn't think he can get it, but I think Act has gotta at least maintain this Tenpai in order to keep his chances alive, right?
It's true. If he, at the moment, with the Ricci stick on the table, he is only 100 points away from getting above Nico.
Yeah.
And like we were discussing earlier with Wave and Mort, the points differences between Nico and Act in the tournament overall are close enough that whichever one of them places above the other will clinch at least 3rd place.
That's right. So they both collect the Tenpai bonus. I believe it's 1,000 per player in this tournament. So they will. Nico will still be 100 points ahead of Act here.
Yeah. With those 1,000 points sitting on the table for whomever can claim them.
That's right. Act this time, an interesting hand. There's a possibility of mixed triple sequence. It's a long shot, but it's possible. And when you want the points, even long shots need to be considered. Nico on the right has a solid hand. There's no value there yet, but maybe pure double sequence, maybe Pinfu. Across the table, we can see Mort with 2 Dora, but a very slow hand. Wave on the left has already called the Yakuhai, the south, the round wind. But Wave also has a bit of a shambled hand here. Just a bunch of different tiles. It's getting better though.
Yeah, it's you're always tempted when you have a situation like that where you just want to move the game along, win a cheap hand. But if you call early on in the game like that, and your hand is not actually that close to being finished, then you do run the risk of someone calling Ricci, especially the dealer, and putting you in a position where you have fewer tiles to defend because you've already committed some of your tiles.
You might actually be foretelling something here. Act was 1 away from Tenpai, but decides to look for a better weight. Maintains 1 away from Tenpai, so stays 1 away from Tenpai, but now Act can actually score some points. And Wave's still 1 away.
Yeah, unfortunately, they did draw that 8-mon right after throwing the 7-9.
Right,
But
Nico.
as we've seen so many times, it's not a backfire unless you lose.
Nico passed on a Tempai here in order to score more points, maybe to get a better weight as well. So we can see, I think Nico is still playing for first. Even though there's only 2 more deals left, I think Nico is still going for first place here. Yeah, Mort in a bit of trouble, might try to avoid wave, but doesn't have too many turns left to play it out.
Yeah. This is the kind of positional play and tournament play that you really only see in situations like this, or that you see more often in situations like this, at least. When players will, turn down winning hands or turn down Tenpais because they really want to try and go for more value or better weights.
That's right. Nico with another chance at Tenpai. Doesn't take it still. Still holding out. Act has still not found Tenpai, unfortunately. And Wave, as you can see, has the double pawn weight on the 2-mon and the 7-pin.
Yeah, and it looks like there's one of each still left in the wall, so very much a decent chance that they can draw it themselves.
Okay, Mort 1 away from Tenpai. Could have called that to make Tenpai, but then would not have any Yaku. Nico finds a Tenpai, doesn't reach it.
Wave has the opportunity to change up their weight, and they actually decide to stay on the double pawn weight.
That is interesting. Oh, Nico has a big Tenpai.
Although it puts them in free 10.
That's true.
The weight is huge, and there's lots of winning tiles, but they cannot call Ron on anybody else's discards. And as you can see by the way everyone else's hands lit up in red, a lot of the winning tiles are already tied up in people's hands.
Indeed. Act here, discarding that 3. Looks like Act might be folding out against this. So we can see the difference in play style. Act trying to cinch 3rd place, and Nico trying to win it all here.
Yeah, I'm not sure Act is quite out of the game just yet.
Yeah, that's true.
They are still 1 away. They have maintained that. And that 8-so was not that too risky because the 5-so was safe, but it wasn't entirely safe either.
Finds Tempa here, would have to Riichi. This has no Yaku. Or, I mean, there's always under the river, under the sea. Goes for the Riichi though.
Man, Wave's hand has only 1 tile in it that is not red.
Yeah, could you have foreshadowed
Really
the deal
funny.
in? Could you have foreshadowed it from the very beginning of this hand? Oh, looks like you might be able to get out. Last tile, no! Unfortunate for Act and Nico here, but they will be back in South 3.
Yeah, this is, I think this is the 2nd hand in a row where Nico and Act have made Tenpai and Wave and Mort have folded out.
That's right. So this hand, Act has a completed meld and a pair, only 1 other shape though, and even that's not great, so this could be the end of Act's run, but we will see. Nico has the 3-3-4 mon, but actually nothing else in the hand, so Nico's in a little bit of trouble here too. Mort across the table has a mid-level hand. It gets a lot better by drawing that 3-pin, so Mort might have a chance at hitting Wave here, and Wave has a Dora, but overall no completed melts, and I don't even think Wave has a 2-sided, an open-ended weight at all, so Wave in a bit of trouble too. This looks like a long hand.
I think the most exciting thing about Mort's hand right now is the possibility for a mixed triple sequence in the 1-2-3.
That's true.
There's actually quite a decent chance of getting a Mangan out of that hand, and along with the 3 Riichi sticks on the table, even though the 5 Homba are not worth anything, even though that's a ton of Homba, but with those 3 Riichi sticks, this hand could be enough to get Mort back into first place. Sorry, not back into first place, but back above Wave.
Yeah, so Mort needs just under 11,000 points. 3,000 are in the Riichi sticks that are on the table. So a Mangan, that's 8,000. Doesn't even have to hit Wave, doesn't even have to sumo. A Mangan plus the 3000 would put Mort ahead of Wave here.
And it looks like he is 2 away from Tempai at the moment.
That's right. Nico, these draws have been pretty powerful. I think Nico is still 2 away, maybe 3, but Nico's looking for some value here as well.
Act actually also has, with a few more nice draws, could be looking at a half or even a full outside hand with a double sequence. Although he's keeping this 5-pin, so that may be not what he's planning for.
Yeah, the only problem here is Act right now still has not found his 5th shape. Well, there it is potentially. You need 4 melds and a pair to finish a hand in Mahjong, so a lot of people will refer to the 5 block theory. When you're building your hand, you want to look for 4 melds and 1 pair, and so now you can see Act has 5 shapes. This would not be the outside hand, but it would still be a hand to get a deal or repeat.
Yeah. And actually, they're also 1 away from 7 pairs.
That's true. That doesn't follow the 5 shapes rule. That one has 7 shapes.
It isn't. one of the noticeable exceptions. Notable, I mean.
Right.
Sorry.
Nico still 2 away from Tempai. There's a little bit of value there though, and of course the 3 Ricci sticks on the table are enough value for any player. Oh,
I think that is only 1 away, actually.
Well, it's not that one, whatever it is.
No, it's not that one.
But Nico now definitely 1 away.
Yeah. Mort is also 1 away, but unfortunately he has not managed to get that mixed triple sequence.
Oh, Act could use this to set a Suji trap on the 7 pairs, or go for first place with the half flush. Uses it to set the Suji trap, but does not call Ricci. So we're still waiting to see what happens.
Yeah, we've got a pretty exciting battle here between Nico's almost finished half flush and Act's 7 pairs, with Mort's hand still definitely not being out of the running.
Yeah, and I think Wave is still 1 away from Tempai. Not the greatest tiles in Wave's hand. In fact, Wave has a pretty high chance of dealing into the 7 pairs from Act. But actually, it's still 1 away. So any one away possibility is a possibility. Nico second to reach Tempai behind Act.
Yeah, they've got that 2-5 Mon weight.
That's
Mort
right.
makes the interesting call to throw the 7-pin, perhaps hoping to pair up either the 2 or the 5 or hoping to make a 3-sided weight out of that and use the 2 Mon as his pair.
That's right.
But, unfortunately, he has kind of destroyed all of the potential value in his hand. He doesn't have Pinfu, he doesn't have Tanyao, he doesn't have the triple sequence, but he's going to call Ricci and see if he can make the best out of it anyway, because those 3,000 points are still on the table.
Yep, and that locks another of the 1 pin away from Act. This draw from Wave also probably locks another of the 1 pin away from Act.
But it looks like Wave is out of the game anyway.
Oh, with
Folding
Wave
with that
folding,
5,
he might actually consider the 1 pin as a safe option, and Act might actually get it. One of those ironic situations where folding might actually make things more dangerous for you.
Yeah. So something funny has happened because Nico is once again in a position to head bump Mort out of the win on the 2 Mon.
There you go. We saw head bump. I think in top 16. I don't think we saw it in top 8, but my memory might not be perfect. We can see Act here, definitely willing to push the Manzu tiles, even seeing Nico's calls, and Nico pushing as well. 1 tile left in the wall.
Yeah, I think he sees that there are a fair few high Manzu tiles out, and thinks that the weight is more likely on the lower end, which it was.
True, but it only takes 1. It only takes 1.
It does only take one.
This time Nico and Mort are Tempai, so we actually see a little bit of movement in the first and second versus third and fourth matchups, the two close matchups. Ooh, Act has a medium speed hand, not really great value, could potentially use the Dora, but on the right, Nico has a bomb. Looks to be 2 away from Tempai, got 2 Dora, got 2 Yakuhai. Oh, and we do have to pass the dealer. My mistake, because Act was not Tempai there. So yeah, Nico looking to start that East 4 Rampage, or South 4 Rampage.
Yeah, and now, so the difference between Mort and Wave in the battle for first place in the tournament is down to just under 10,000 points. So with the 4,000 points on the table, that means that a 4-Han hand, not even a Mangan, could be enough to net Mort first place.
That's right. Looking at what Mort's making right now, I think he's going to have a tough time even getting 4-Han.
Yeah, that's true. He was hoping to call that South, presumably, but unbeknownst to him, the other 2 Souths are tied up in Nico's hand and not likely to go anywhere.
Yeah, I think even after calling it, because of the Manzu call, he doesn't have a half flush. So
It's true.
ideally he could get 7 Sodora, he would get 2 Han. Would a direct hit do it on 2 Han?
I don't think so. That would only make up a difference of 4,000 from the hand, and then an additional 4,000 from the Riichi sticks.
That's right.
So that would not be enough.
So maybe Mort just trying to lock in second place here. In the meantime, Nico's gotten Tempai. I believe it's a Mangan either way. At least it's 4 Han either way. Either East Dora 3 or East South Dora 2. We can see across the table, Wave has a lot of good shapes, but not quite as fast as our other players. And Act on the left has some decent shapes. Yeah, and Act scoring 1 Han would be enough to put him in third place to pass Nico for third.
Yeah. Those 4,000 Riichi sticks on the table really make this last hand, the South 4, just that much more of a knife edge.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just really anything could happen.
And we almost missed, I almost missed Nico conning a winning tile, but he didn't get it. In fact, Act gets his tile. Nico's weight, unbeknownst to him, 1 tile left in Nico's weight. Can't even see it, unfortunately. None of them are visible to him.
It's really a little bit of a stick.
Oh, Act finds it and snipes third place from under Nico's nose.
Looks like that's it, ladies and gentlemen, and those betwixt.
And that looks like it will be the game. Unless someone knows something we don't. We've got Act winning this game with 37,300. Boku Nico in second, 29,400. Wave third, 21,500. Mort rounding up the rear here with 11,800. And that means that I believe the only place that switch are Nico and Act. Let us go to the scores. Indeed. So we see here, a Wave and Mort do not change positions. Unfortunately, Mort could just not find that last hand in South 4 to make the comeback. Wave are back-to-back Catfood Bowl champion. Can you believe it? Are those claps of belief or disbelief? Because Wave...
They're claps of appreciation for a job well done. I mean...
And we've got Act here coming up in third, making the switch, and Nico, unfortunately, in South 4, unable to get that last hand. So, Joe, what did you think of that final game?
Man, even though we had no points for the home buy, just seeing them stack up like that, it just really ramped up the tension right up to the end. I mean, as I said just a few minutes ago, having all those points on the table, all those repeat sticks on the table, and having the differences between, the difference between third and fourth, difference between first and second, very much, not insurmountable. I mean, it was a nail biter right up to the end.
That's right. None of the positions were really set in stone going into that last. Even going into South 4, as you said, anyone had a shot with the 4 reachy sticks that made even small hands change things. And it looks like we will be having an interview here with our 2-time Catfood Bowl champion, Wave. Wave, what's going on? How you feeling right now?
Hey, I don't know. Surprised? I guess I thought I had it towards the last, 2 hands, but if I think back to just trying to qualify, get out of prelims. I definitely didn't think I would win again or even be in the finals again. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you.
All right. So we didn't get to see your prelims, and I will save I guess, you had a couple big moments. We'll save them. But what made you so scared in the prelims?
Well, the first tourney, like my first 5 games, I did pretty well. Like I was in after 5. I got pushed out, but I did one more game, and so I was able to qualify in 6. So the viewers probably don't know this, but there are 3 days for prelims, and you have to put together a string of your best 5 matches over those 3 days. And I just had nothing in the first 2 days useful. So I was going in with no streak close to qualifying and nothing saved for the 3rd day. And it was like right around the cutoff when it was just like, this is as much time left that you can get 5 Hanchons in, that I got a first. And so after that, every game was just like, I've got to win. I've got to keep the streak going. I ended up qualifying after playing 24, I think, Hanchons, or some ridiculous number, with an hour left in the last day. So it was a lot of work.
That's right. Well, congratulations on that, and it certainly paid out for you here. We saw in the top 16 you had some, we could call them very interesting games, I would say.
Oh yeah, so my top 16 games were like the best games I've played. I actually, the tourney room still counts your streak, and I got a better streak in my top 16 games than when I qualified. Things went okay for me, and I mostly avoided dealing in and managed to coast, except for the Dai Sangen, which I can really only account to the fact that the person who dealt into me was in such a bad position that they couldn't afford to fold.
Yeah.
It's not a hand you'd normally see like that in ladder or something.
I mean, when it comes down to it, the tournament situation, the scoring situation makes a lot of less likely plays happen, right? So.
Oh yeah. It was greedy to go for it in the first place. I was just hoping to freeze everyone else's hands.
To clue all of our viewers in on, I guess, this little hand you're talking about, you actually hit the only Yakuman we were able to see on stream. You hit a Dai Sangen there to make a huge jump in the standings going into, I believe, just before top 8, or was it just before day 2?
That was top 8 to top 4. It was the last game of the last day, the previous day. So it was the second game of 8 to 4.
That's right. And of course, going into the first game of the finals, even after the Dai Sangen, or the Big 3 Dragons, I think you were only ahead of Act by about 4 points in that before the first game began. How did that feel?
Well, I mean, that felt pretty good. Just because, I mean, it felt nice that we were sort of all close together at the start, and that there wasn't any big gap for someone to overcome. I remember last time, even at the start of finals, there was a pretty big gap because I came in with a lower score, and I felt really pressured to push hands even in the first game. Whereas in this one, we were all kind of tight, so the first game of finals was more natural.
All right. And last Catfood Bowl, you had come in. I guess you were the one on the bottom of the list on the last Catfood Bowl, or was that only after the first two games?
I don't remember where I was at the start, but yeah, I was at the second game where I really tanked.
Yeah.
And,
So
I had a couple bad hands, and I had to really recover in the third game.
how did it feel playing the third game from the other side?
Much more relaxed and much more tense. Well, to start it off, when I looked at the scores going into the third game, I was like, okay, so this is the last Catfood Bowl, except completely reversed, and that feels like a really bad sign.
Right. Exactly. You're wondering who's
But,
gonna rinch on this time.
I was fairly confident in my defense, at least. So I thought, like, okay, I've got this. And then the first hand, I've got this hand. The very first hand, I was like, hey, I've got this great hand. Gonna reach for it. Ended up dealing in. Now I'm behind Mort, and now I'm like, oh no, what am I going to do? And that continued for like a few hands until eventually I came back and I got a lucky hit on Mort because my winning tile was safe against someone who had just reached. I forget who now. I think it was Boku. And Mort dealt into me, and I got an advantage on him. And then I was like, okay, I can carry this. I can definitely carry this. So I was like, at that point, I was sure I had it if I just played normally. And then South 3 went to like 5 repeats, and I'm just gradually panicking more and more and more, going like, what's going on? Why is the game not ending?
Well, thank you for sharing your thoughts and feelings with us. We always want to pick the brain of now the back-to-back Catfood Bowl champion, currently the Catfood Bowl Oxier Power Cup champion. Congratulations, and if you have any last words, you may speak them now.
I'm sorry I couldn't end this tourney in in as exciting way as the last one. I don't think a hand like that will ever happen for me again. In fact, I remember when they implemented the achievement system, the new achievement system for all the that lists all the Yakus you've achieved, and it only lists them in ranked. And I went through there and I was like, oh, I don't have Ronpeiko because you never get that Yaku.
Right. Well,
yeah, but it was fun and I enjoyed the games.
that's good. We enjoyed watching you play as well as all of our players. And in fact, we actually have a list here of a bunch of thank yous that we would like to extend here from the team. Sorry. My mistake. My mic cut out. But I was saying, we have a slide here that we would like to extend the thank yous from the team here at Catfood Bowl. That is Yostar and ReachMahjong of New York. So, let's see it. And here we are. So, I would like to introduce you to the producer here from ReachMahjong of New York. Let's cut the music here. And he would like to say a few words about his involvement in all of this and his excitement watching all the games, watching this whole thing take place. And let us play that now.
Hey folks, this is Luke from Reach Mahjong New York. I want to thank you all for watching. Thanks to Tips for his amazing work with the stream. We couldn't have done this without you, man. To the streamers, Crow, Pio, Irie, Joe, and to Konata for the highlight vids. We couldn't have done it without you either. Thanks again. Thanks to Gabby for moderating, Chris and Ryan and Raph and Alicia for holding the fort, Nikki for the art, and for all the hype monsters at reachyout.com for promoting this. Props to all the members of all the Mahjong clubs in all the world. And shout out to all our pets. We got Ridley, Jack, Roger, Sonny, Bishop, Giles, Kiki, Yuffie, Jake, Donnie, Quasi, Finn, the cat that used to live at Konata's, Lucy, Yuma, Nemo, Hazel, Sausage, Deuce, Dusty, Digger, Katya, Kotiek, Tips's Fish, and to all your pets out there too, who are bothering you while you play Mahjong Soul to remind you to keep relaxed and stay happy. Lastly, a huge thank you to Mahjong Soul for being such an easy and fun way to compete and watch some great Mahjong, to Catfood Studios and Yostar, Emma, Navi King, and all the Discord staff, and last but not least, all of you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you at the next tournament.
All right, that was Luke from Reach Mahjong of New York, and from all of us here in the production staff, in the stream, in the players, those who work on the game, those who play the game, thank you to all of you. And we will see you at the next Catfood Bowl.